with 2 nights of heat racing already in the books. Just 36 spots remain in the next round of the biggest sim racing event of the summer. Tonight, 90 of the 240 entries will attempt to make their way into the biggest sim race, one of the biggest races in PGR history. Some of the biggest names in the event still to come will wrap up the preliminary qualifying process and set the field not only for tomorrow's LCQs, but also for Sunday's 3rd annual PGR SummerSlam 499. Good evening from Talladega, and welcome into the final night of heat racing of the SummerSlam 499. My name is Dawson Wise. Happy to be with you on this production of PGR eSports Network as we lock in the final 36 drivers to the next round of the qualifying process, as 9 will go to the feature tonight to join the 15 that have already advanced into the biggest sim racing event of the summertime. Before we get going tonight, do want to mention our couple of heat sponsors here in heat race number 6. Of course, our title sponsors continue to be That Towing Company and Chris Carter Racing and the Flying Aces. Chris Blanchard, Chris Carter, thanks to both of those gentlemen and all of the folks at CCR and That Towing Company for their sponsorship of the event as a whole. But specifically tonight and for this 6th heat race, tonight's 6th heat is supported by Blind Squirrel Racing, an iRacing team owned by Ambrose Kniebel. Although Ambrose could not be here tonight, his contributions to the money racing community do not go unnoticed. He is a true gentleman, a great supporter of sim racing, and someone who always brings plenty of comedy wherever he goes. Thank you to Ambrose and everyone at Blind Squirrel Racing for supporting the 2026 PGR eSports SummerSlam 499. We'd also like to recognize the NASRA 360 Racing Network, representing the North American Sim Racing Association. Founded in 2020, NASRA provides professional broadcasting and production for some of the biggest money racing events in iRacing. Their signature event, the NASRA 500, is traditionally held ahead of the PGR 500 and has become an important part of the Super Speedway money racing calendar. Thank you to everyone at NASRA 360 Racing Network for supporting this year's SummerSlam 499. And with that, we bring you into the PGR eSports broadcast booth, and it is a full booth tonight for the action over the next 3 heat races. We'll start here with Heat 6. You'll hear from our pit reporter, Tyler Vickery, throughout the night with all the storylines down on track level. But we'll start with the man on the production controls tonight, series owner Michael Triscaro. Mike, it's been a crazy week so far. Some of the biggest names in the event, Michael Guest, Daniel Falkingham, amongst others, are going home and will not be racing tomorrow. Some crazy twists and turns already with some of the biggest names still yet to come.
Yeah, man, this is my favorite time of the year, man. The SummerSlam 499 as well as the PGR 500. These are the 2 biggest events on iRacing right now as far as the money racing community goes. 240 entries. We had 340 entries for the 500, going for about 400 plus in February. So I'm just excited, man. This is the last night of heats. Tomorrow we have the LCQs. The top 24 shootout's going to be one of the best races of the weekend. And then you got the SummerSlam 499 feature on Sunday, man. I was hoping to race myself into it. Did the last couple of years, but it'll still be fun to watch. Malik Ray goes for the 3-peat and a ton of other storylines, man. It's really just beginning. Heat 7 going to be crazy here tonight.
Yeah, we're looking forward to Heat 7. Obviously, Heat 6 is, just as talented, but Heat 7 is one I've had circled all week with some huge names and not a lot of spots to go around. We'll now introduce the co-host for tonight, the man who will be calling these 3 races with me, and this is a long time coming to bring him on for a marquee event. I'd like to welcome Garrett Jenkins. You all may know him better as Jim Bob into the broadcast booth tonight. Jim Bob, you've seen the week's racing so far, and we talked about it pre-race, the tone shift between night 1 and heats 1 and 2, and last night heats 3, 4, and 5. Last night, the aggression level was through the roof compared to what we saw back in the opening 2 races.
Yeah, and I could have swore after what we saw on Wednesday night that, well, these guys probably ain't going to be as aggressive. Well, tell you one thing, that statement got flipped on its head last night. The aggression level off the charts. From heats 3 all the way to heat 5. Everybody going for every last spot they could, and I'll be damned. Alex Hill, I'll shout out him. A hell of a drive out of the Jack Shack, number 77 driver, to go to an LCQ spot, if I ain't mistaken. And to be flat out honest with you, Dawson, it's going to be one of them things. Are we going to see the same that we saw last night, or are we going to see what we saw on Wednesday night, guys, taking it easy?
I'll be really curious to see that, considering some of the names that we have in the field tonight. And with that being said, what better way to segue into the starters for heat race number 6 that will open night 3 of the SummerSlam 499. Let's begin with the front row. On the pole for this opening heat race of the night, he's got a brand new wrap aboard that 56 on your screen. He'll be the 69 on the timing and scoring. Aubrey Thompson returns to the SummerSlam 499 and will start from pole position. Outside of him, the driver for CCR and the Flying Aces, Chris Carter, carries those colors from second to on the outside of the front row. Row 2, Bryce Hinton in the PGR SummerSlam branded entry along with Simrat Market. He'll start from third. Alongside him, another Simrat Market branded entry. Tonight, the newly brown and yellow 02 of Logan York. Back on row number 3 and starting in the 5th position, it'll be Chris McCullough making his PGR return tonight. And who better to start alongside than Josh McCullough in the 05 and all MMS, row number 3. On row 4, Julio Villalobos Jr. also sporting the Simrat Market colors from the 7th spot. And series co-owner Matthew Baker continues to look for the marquee win in his own series. Tonight he'll start from 8th position in his efforts in the SummerSlam. Back on row 5, Josh Ball in the Red Bull Mustang made a start in the PGR 500 back in February. So did John Ellis Jr. in the 21 who will start from 10th, trying to make a SummerSlam 499. We remember how it ended for him last year. Row 6, Craig Jancic in the 97, new colors for him tonight, neon yellow and neon blue. Aboard that 97, he'll go from 11th, alongside Joshua McKinney in the Bucky's 03. He'll go from 12th. Row 7, Rocky Boyd returns to PGR as well in car 16. He'll start from 13th tonight. And another PGR return as Freddie Bassinez makes another start in a PGR marquee event qualification. He'll start from 14th tonight. Row 8, the PGR sponsored driver back from the Road to Pro Series, Caden Diedrich, and the Coca-Cola iRacing Series as well. He'll start from 15th. And Justin Tutunchin, who's made a couple starts in these marquee events, he'll roll from 16th tonight on row 8. Row 9, one of the breakout stories from the PGR 500, Austin Call starts from 17th as he attempts to make his second straight marquee event. And Chris Blanchard with that towing company will start from 18th. And on row 10, it'll be Moon Nazi Major carrying Sprite aboard that 82 tonight, alongside one of the drivers we got to see in the ERA races back in the months of March and April. Michael Sturgill Jr. makes his start from 20th. Back on row number 11, working back through the field quickly, Michael Anthony starts from 21st alongside George Jewell, the 00. Back on row number 12 in the 23rd starting spot, towards the tail end of the field, looks like it's going to be Jared Smith in the 15. And alongside him, it will be Jacob Booth, who returns to PGR tonight as well, all orange aboard that number 19 machine. Working further back in the field, Jordan Stencil will start from 25th with Sean Sullivan in the 26th spot, sporting the orange and black RFK colors. Row 14 to be Ted Lisby in the all-black 44, alongside Wyatt Miller, nephew of Dale Earnhardt Jr., making his PGR debut in this heat race. He'll start from position 28. Final 2 cars on the grid for this heat race, or rather final 1, as we've only had 29 of the 30. Michael Wingo will start shotgun on the field in 29th. 3 move on to the feature and the top 24 shootout. Those are the top 3 cars. 4th through 12th live to race another day tomorrow in the LCQs. The final 36 spots in the SummerSlam recruitment process qualifications are underway. Heat 6 is green from Talladega. It's the outside that prevails here on this opening lap, as we've seen all week. Carter goes to the race lead. Is that back? The 3 wide moves were attempted back around the McKinney machine. That's 10th on the racetrack right now. There are a couple of cars trying it, and I'm curious to see, again, some of the names to expect tonight are some of the biggest winners in PGR history. I'm curious if anyone will be willing to do what the guys in heats 3, 4, and 5 did last night and attempt that top lane. So far, 2x2 rush hour traffic, the first 14 rows in the field.
Well, right now, 2x2, so they've started off as they did on Wednesday. Now, I'll say this, that'll probably change with 5 to go. They're probably going to race how they have the last couple weeks. Wyatt Miller trying to make it 3 wide further in the back. Blends back in line, nobody going with him, and I'll be flat out honest with you. I don't know how long you're willing to wait if you're back there around the 19th, 20th spot. If you want to, try to going up to the front. But right now, 2x2 off of turn number 4. Joshua McCullough really not able to get that outside lane going yet.
Yeah, but Logan York is. He's going to jump out there with Aubrey Thompson, and they will inherit the lead for the first time. So Carter led the opening lap. York will lead the second one. And, you know, you talked about guys wanting to be willing to go to the outside. There's a lot of guys that know each other up front, so I'm not exactly surprised these guys are not making serious bonsai moves. A lot of these guys race together every single week, want to take care of each other for a little bit. Again, push will come to shove at some point in this race, about 15 to 20 laps in when it's go time, and it's starting to be go time out back. Josh Ball to the center. Another car moves up in front of him, and now here comes the middle lane. Tuchin joins up with that lane in front of Ball, and multiple cars coming through the center now, trying to make it happen. That's Chris McCullough in the white and green 04. He'll lead the charge through the center, and who sees it? Matthew Baker does in the red, yellow, and black Simrat Market. Coasting Thunder Chevrolets in clean air. Hinton says no, sir. He drops down. McCullough drops down, and just like that, Jim Bob, how about 4 wide with Ellis?
Well, by God, don't think we learned anything from last night as Aubrey Thompson stuck in the middle lane. Well, you say middle lane or 4 wide. He'll have to blend back up. The only bad part is about, give or take 3 seconds ago, he was in a transfer spot. Now, Logan York brings him down the back straightaway again. They are 3 by 3, 4 wide, deeper in the field. And right now, Logan York and John Ellis will bring him to turn number 3. McKinney and both the McCulloughs round out the top 5 as they barrel in turns 3 and 4.
And to the inside comes the driver under the Nightmare Esports banner this week. That's Josh Ball in the Red Bull Mustang. He'll go all the way from 5th to the lead here off turn number 4. Ran very well in the PGR 500 in February, but Bryce Hinton dumps him off trouble in the trial. It's 1 car sideways against the wall. He'll be allowed to spin. No caution. Michael Wingo was that car out back of the field. We stay green. Ball continues to lead up front. He's on the push of Baker. Carter splits Baker to the bottom, hangs him in the wind, and 3 wide for second as Hinton got up around Carter before Carter could get to the outside wall. Ball leads the top now on the push from Hinton. Bottom side is Baker on a push from the 45, I believe, of Julio Villalobos, who continues to duke it out up here with these guys. Oh, 1 car almost out of line. That was to Tuchin, about halfway deep in the field, but everybody figures it out. Up front, York to the middle. Ball spins on his own in the 33, down to the apron. The caution comes out quick. He makes the save, but race control there erring on the side of caution as it looked like Ball was going to spin right in front of the field.
Good grief. Man, they got away with one there. I don't know how many lives the cat has after last night, but they got away with one there. Good God almighty, what a save.
I think we're beyond the 9 lives at this point of the cat already this week, and that's just saying something. We still have several races to go. That was Josh Ball that got out of shape, and this has been something that we've seen, you know, over the last several days in this event. His cars getting loose, although right there it looks like Bryce Hinton does give him a shot there into turn 3, so maybe some contact aided that. But cars have been very light on the banking and really on the transitions, either onto the banking or off of the banking. You'll see it again here with Josh Ball as we go up top. Let's see if it was an offset push, maybe a little bit of one, but Ball gets out of shape. And again, right here, I mean, race control thinks he's going to come back up shades of Tony Stewart back in 2012 and, you know, obviously take out a bunch of cars. Instead, Josh Ball makes a whale of a save on the apron. I don't think we've emphasized enough how great this save was. This is the save of the week already, and big moment there for the cars on the bottom, including Carter, who just narrowly avoid what could have been complete disaster.
I guarantee you, Chris Carter, he thinking his lucky stars and stripes off of that one. And again, a big save, but it'll kind of just set the tone, really, and I'll allude back to another point. You talk about the cars being light. Really, right in that transition is where, almost like Dawson, if you remember this past Monday in the MMS race, where the cars were getting loose coming through the tri-oval and out the tri-oval. Really, at this point, it's going to be a thing not only to watch from the tri-oval, but basically anywhere around this place at this point, particularly going into the corners as well, because I'm going to tell you, you don't get to save a car that good. That's almost the transition of lightning strikes only once.
Yeah, so for Josh Ball, he's got to hope that doesn't happen again at the front of the field. He'll get his, you know, one of his do-overs here. Obviously, these guys do have a fast repair in the pits. We did not get to mention that pre-race. So some notes of things we did not get to quite mention. Again, this race is 35 laps in length. All 3 of the heat races tonight will be 35 laps again. The top 3 advance to the feature. They will also advance to the top 24 shootout race tomorrow night, which will set the top 12 rows of the grid. So essentially it is an amplified version of February's pole shootout that saw the front row get locked in. That will just lock in the grid for the top 12 rows. Of course, the back part of the grid will be made up of 16 last chance qualifier drivers that will advance out of those 2 races tomorrow evening. Those fields, by the way, or at least the one for LCQ number 1, is shaping up to be absolutely stacked, by the way, tomorrow in that race. So that will be can't miss TV as guys take the final few spots in the SummerSlam field. Again, it is 35 laps. It is 100% fuel, so they will not have to make a fuel stop. There is a fast repair in the pits, which has been a storyline all week. Drivers have been able to come down, take a fast repair, and advance their way into either the feature or the LCQs simply because they get one do-over. Now, that starts to go away as this week goes on, but tonight, you at least get one mulligan, 1 second chance, a second life to come back out and try to advance yourself in. The final note, and we'll get ready to kind of, transition into seeing this. If you haven't joined us the last 2 nights, the choose cone is in effect this week. And what I mean by that is similarly to the NASCAR Cup Series races on Sunday and all 3 of the NASCAR National Series at this point, these guys will get the opportunity to choose which lane they restart in. Because there is no choose cone marker on the virtual scan of the racetrack, it will be a kind of arbitrary marking. The A in the word mark Talladega that comes across the start finish line is being used as the effective choose cone. You have to choose by the start finish line. Again, very similar to what NASCAR's rules are. You have to declare your lane and choose one way or the other. You'll see them do it right here. If you run over the box, in this case, if you run over the A, you'll be given a penalty. Several drivers, including Jacob Dunn, received that penalty last night. So we'll choose for the first time here. The story of the week, Jim Bob, has been guys have not wanted to bail off the top lane here at the front of the field. Only a few cars have had a game plan to start on the bottom throughout this week, although Josh Ball's going to hold serve here, and he'll lead the restart on the bottom. So similar to last night with Tony Meyering a couple of different times, Josh Ball will take the bottom. John Ellis is going to go with him, and so is Matthew Baker. And those are not surprising names, I think, to take the bottom. It's not been the better lane on the restarts this week, but if you get the right cars lined up with good enough pushers, you can make that line work and hang with the top and make something happen.
To be flat honest with you, I can't say that I blame for taking the top. I really can't. I mean, the runs these cars can get off of the top. You saw it all night last night, really. Well, hell, you saw it on Wednesday, too. Outside lane, just whatever they got in this setup for this week. I mean, outside lanes are more overpowered now than what it has been in times past. So, to be flat out honest with you, it is going to take Josh Ball. It's going to take one hell of a restart for him just to get clear that outside lane. But even then, they'll more than likely easily take him 3 wide. And then at that point, what do you do other than hope somebody will let you in further back?
Well, for Josh Ball here, why not do it here if you're, Ellis or Baker? Tutunchin went down there as well. It's the 42 fourth in line. A couple of other cars joining them down there. It looks like Austin Call is one of those machines that's gone down there as well. He's in gray, black, and red this time around. Remember, he ran the Aflac scheme back in February. Changed the colors for this event. He'll jump down there as well. But on lap 8, coming to lap 9, it's still early enough in the race. You can experiment with this now. Later in the race, if you find out it works, maybe you go back to the bottom on a late restart and try to make it happen and make your way into the feature. We'll see what happens on this one. The story of the week has been the outside has gone better in the restart box. It's also gotten the better run through 1 and 2. The bottom has just not been very viable at times. Josh Ball will control the start from that lane, though. It's going to give them a little boost. He gets to decide when the field goes back under green. And for the first time, we'll enter the Simrat Market restart zone. Ball, Hinton on the front row. Green flag back in the air in heat race 6. Up we go towards turn 1. And again, this is what I was talking about. The bottom will get a boost because Ball gets to make the jump in the restart box and now has a decision to make. Does he stay with Ellis on the bottom and Baker? The answer is yes, because the top lane has yet to get connected with Hinton and York. Baker, Ellis, Ball will all be clear off turn 2, and they're all going to fade up to the wall.
Well, that was unexpected. By all accounts, as right now, Ball down the back straightaway, getting pushed by John Ellis. Baker in tow right now. If you're Matthew Baker, I'd stay right where you're at. Run in third, head to a fall line. Did not take long for that third lane. Here comes Chris Carter to the outside lane. Getting pushed by Christopher McCullough. They worked your turns 3 and 4, but it is still Josh Ball out front here at Talladega.
Yeah, but that top lane got stopped up for a minute because Freddie Bassinez tried to throw his car 4 wide in line a little further back in the field. We'll see if guys decide to try to do that again. Now York's up in front of Carter. Jancic, Thompson in that line. Hinton's going to get split by Logan York. He went too high on the initial block. Bassinez 4 wide between Sturgill and Chris McCullough. Now he makes the move stick, but nobody goes with him. In that prime red, white, and blue number 2, Hinton looking 4 wide around Baker. He's just going to square up the push. Here off turn 2, Josh McCullough and Logan York through the center like a bullet out of a gun. Here down the back straightaway, they're all the way through to second and third, and they'll be on the push of Ball now. Josh McCullough trying to get Josh Ball's right rear quarter panel, trying to get to it and split him out of line. He won't do it, but Ball will drop down here on the entrance of turn 3. There's allowed to be a quick block back up on York, but smart move by Ball. The run was on the bottom with York. Ball holds the lead. Good move there off turn 4 to block that one. Outside lane still trying to get going. Carter Bassinez and a couple other cars out back, but it's 2x2, 5 rows deep at the front. Ball stays bottom. Josh McCullough getting pushed by John Ellis. Here's Baker to the outside. Baker will pick up Ellis. They'll hang McCullough in the wind back to Rocky Boyd. And those 2 cars are lonely, but not for long. Diedrich to the center. Major into the picture, and 3 wide for the lead again.
I'm going to tell you, at first it was a hornet's nest all around that 12th spot. Now it's a hornet's nest all the way through back to near damn 20th as they work down the back straightaway. Still 3 wide. Ball holding command somehow with all 3 lanes rushing at him. Here comes Ellis. He's going to get blocked by Ball. McCullough still in the middle lane. Right now, 3rd lane with Diedrich trying to make something happen. And Diedrich now just about to the top spot with Rocky Boyd.
Oh, he tried to go up to the block of Josh Ball, and he was a little bit late there off turn 4, and now he'll go back to the push of Josh McCullough about 3 rows deep in the field in the middle. Ball's able to get back to the outside, but that's allowed the bottom to gain some momentum here as the top and middle cannot figure things out. Rocky Boyd led for a moment there on the bottom on the push of Bassinez and Sturgill. First time we've seen those 2 cars inside the top 3 rows. Ball's going to get unintentionally split, and now he's going to get turned. Ball, Boyd, and trouble at the front as the leaders fly apart.
God almighty. Well, there goes Rocky Boyd and there goes Josh Ball. So, yeah, lightning did not strike twice for the driver of the 33. Dawson, I'll tell you, even though it was 2 cars in throughout the caution, they still got away with another one because that could have been a whole hell of a lot bigger than what it was.
Again, it was a similar feeling to what happened when Josh Ball got turned the first time across the field. This time, he ends up getting turned. Now, again, it could have been a lot worse. I don't think either he or Rocky Boyd have very severe damage here from this, so they'll certainly still be in contention in the race, but obviously it's a setback on track position. Again, this could have, and I could argue should have, been a lot bigger than it was. Again, this happens in the lead of the field. Josh Ball's leading the field. When he gets pushed from behind by Diedrich, they were likely offset about 4 cars deep in line there. And Rocky Boyd's the innocent bystander. I have no clue how Freddie Bassinez isn't involved in this in the 2, or Tutunchin in the 42 as he bails all the way to the bottom. We got away with one in a big way there. You know, for Bassinez and Tutunchin and Ellis and Diedrich, I mean, this could have been 6, 8, 10 cars at least, and they all would have been leaders with where this started.
Well, I'm going to tell you now, if you're Josh Ball with the pressure weren't already on beforehand, just trying to stay in the top 3. Now it is. There you see Rocky Boyd up track a little bit. Makes contact with the 33, Diedrich. I can't really do nothing in that spot. If he rolls out, McCullough's all over the back of him, and then we do get the entire field flying apart down the back straightaway. It sucks for Boyd and it sucks for Ball, but I'm going to tell you, it's going to raise a question now. Is that 33 is good out front, and obviously he can block the lanes and can hold the lead, but now can that 33 get back to the front? And we're really going to see how he can handle traffic. The same for Rocky Boyd. Both of these have been at the front right just about for the get-go as you right on board with Freddie Bassinez, and barely does make contact. And Dawson, I'll tell you what, if he did not get away with one there, I don't know what is at this point.
Yeah, obviously we've gotten away with a couple in this heat race, and the story of super speedway racing is you don't get away with it every single time. Surely the time bomb is still ticking down in the 6 heat race, especially if the races last night were any indication. All 3 of those races had big multi-car accidents. A couple of them had accidents at the front of the field. So again, you know, it's never over until the checkered flag flies. Even if you've had the perfect race, it's just never over until you get back to the checkered flag, and we're still a ways away From that, some cars coming down pit road to address some things. Baker was down there. Wingo, Ball, Boyd, and Lisby are the cars that I saw at least on pit road there at the tail end. Quick note, an end-of-line penalty to Rocky Boyd for the cause of the caution. Obviously, he's going to go to the tail end anyways. He was repairing his race car. So for Rocky Boyd, another setback for him. He actually had an incident a little while ago under the first caution, getting hit as the field checked up for the pace car. He and Wyatt Miller were involved in a bit of some contact and altercation, if you will, back on the track off turn 2 on the last caution. So for Boyd, not the start to the night that he wants. And, as these guys get ready to choose again, if you're Rocky Boyd, if you're Josh Ball in this scenario, a couple of other drivers as well have already been involved in a couple, but, we'll focus on Rocky Boyd specifically. To have that kind of start, your nerves are already running on high going into the race. To have 2 incidents now in the first, let's say, 14 laps of this race, what can that do for the nerves of a driver? Does it amplify them? Does it kind of make it easier for a driver because now they know what they have to do? It's all in front of them. I would like to think that for Rocky Boyd here, it certainly doesn't help the nerves that I'm sure he already had.
I mean, the best person to ask about something in this scenario would be Alex Hill after last night. And just like I said, his night from hell actually ended on a good note. After last night, it was the drive of a lifetime, one of the best drives I've ever seen. I've been calling money races now for just over a year, so I've seen already my fair share, as Ellis will take the bottom here. But it's just going to be one of them things, Dawson. It's just, this is the point now. This is where drivers, you see what a driver can do under pressure, and you're really about to see that with Rocky Boyd. You're going to see it with Ball. You're going to see it from guys who have had an up and down night. And to be honest, even though he has not had an up and down night, I'm going to throw Matthew Baker in there as well, because Baker within the top 5 prior to this caution now, restarting down in 26th. So the pressure's on, because eventually the more cautions we have, the more these laps are going to tick away until at that point when you're down there anywhere in 20th to 15th to 20th, and even further down, it's going to be time to ramp it up. And at that point, God bless them, because they are about to throw haymakers within them final 5 laps.
It's a good call on Alex Hill. We saw several of those kinds of drives in last night's race. Chase Mastretta goes from 26th to 9th on the last restart and makes his way into an LCQ tomorrow. So, we saw a few of those kinds of drives last night and really on night 1 as well. Guys that got behind the 8 ball early in their heat race, expected to run up front, and they were thrown into a situation where they were no longer up front and had to play offense instead of defense. And you saw some real determination from drivers last night. Tonight, you mentioned Baker as well as Boyd and Ball. The onus is on them to make it happen on this next restart, trying to get back in position, because we've seen at the end of these races, if you're back 15th on back, you are not guaranteed an opportunity to get the big run, to get through the middle of the racetrack, to get to the outside of the racetrack. You're just not guaranteed that spot. John Ellis did take the inside. I'm starting to notice a bit of a shift in the mentality on these restarts. If you start on the bottom and jump it well enough, the bottom lane is actually very good on the bottom side of 1 and 2. So see if that is the case again. To the Simrap Market restart zone we go. Green flag with 20 laps to go in this heat race. Villalobos doesn't go. Sullivan doesn't go out back. It's going to stack up a couple of the rows on the inside and outside respectively, and it's a 6-car breakaway as such up front. Ellis, Bassinis, Sturgill bottom, Diedrich, York, McCullough up top. That's going to create a big run out back for Sullivan, who will jump in the binders. Bryce Hinton says, no thank you, I'm going to jump to the outside. He's the first to move. A couple else go with him. Munatzi Major is up there in the 82. A couple cars going out back of him. Austin Call is amongst that group, and 5 cars already deep in the 3rd line back to turn 3.
Well, Ellis leads in turn number 3. Got Bassinis, Diedrich right behind him. Logan York still having a pretty good night so far. One of the dark horses I'll throw in here for tonight. As right now, you want to talk about dark horses, I'll tell you, a guy really showed a lot of speed in the couple of days leading up before. That'd be Bryce Hinton on that outside lane, trying to make something happen. It almost seems like that 3rd lane ain't really cooperating as good as the middle lane is right now, and that's pretty evident. at this point. But right now, Ellis, Bazness, Dadrick, Solomon, and York, your top 5. They're going to work off for turn number 2 again. Joshua McCullough in front of hits and almost gets turned as they work down the back straightaway. Logan York, oh, there they go. Baker's involved. Good God.
And multiple cars involved here as they come to a stop of the backstretch. Baker is in it in the 5. Jordan Stencil gets a piece of this as well. Mudatsi Major was involved. Some more cars towards the back. Jancic is in this. Michael Anthony is involved. Major damage to the Michael Anthony machine. His entire front end has been blown off of that 14. Josh McKinney is involved. Jared Smith is involved in the 15. I thought maybe Michael Wingo got a piece. He might have gotten a piece on the right front of his 25 as well. So a multi-car accident, the first of this 6th heat race, and this stems from the move by Josh McCullough up front. He threw a block on Bryce Hinton. Hinton was a little bit offset when he went to make the first push. It stacked up the top lane, and that stack up just gets worse as it goes backwards. Some big hits in this one. Stencil in the 83 hit a ton, and Michael Anthony hit a ton in the 14 machine as well. And Baker was in the top lane. I was just about to call out that Baker was in the top lane. In fact, Matthew Baker into Michael Anthony appears to be what actually triggers this crash here on the back straightaways. I'm getting a second look at it. Look up ahead. You see McCullough and Hinton kind of stack up there on the outside. It's going to work its way back to Anthony and Baker. And those two cars come together in the stack up and nowhere for Mudatsi Major to go. He gets clipped in this. And then it's on from there. The track gets blocked. Stencil, Jancic just trying to avoid. Nothing they can do. McKinney gets hip checked by Jacob Booth, who gets through this one as well. Rocky Boyd is in it in the 16. So for Boyd, he got another hit in that one. The night continues to just go poorly for Rocky Boyd.
Well, then the night was going great for Matthew Baker up until that point. Michael Anthony, meatball flag as well. So one fast repair coming up for the driver of the 014. But, yeah, it took, I'm not surprised, but it took longer to materialize. I think we look back at the last couple days here, we're kind of getting a mix of both perspectives. We've had the calmness to a degree from the first 2 heat races, but now we're starting to see the aggression like we saw last night between 3 and 5, where now guys are in a, well, for some it's either go now or don't go at all and just head back to the house. As Baker in this time, and you got to think what's going through his mind right now inside the top 5, made that pit stop, got him back in there now, coming back in this time to assess some damages. Right now, John Ellis is your leader still here at Talladega. And Dawson, I mean, it's just going to be one of these things, and it's going to be the trend of tonight. I think what we're going to see now is guys are willing to take it easy the first half of this race, but now as they start winding down, as I like to say, the intensity is about to pick up, and I think that was just a small glimpse, because I feel like this ain't going to be the last big wreck we see, and this ain't even a small wreck compared to what we saw last night.
No, not at all. And as we get ready to go back green, certainly we're now getting into that desperation time that you kind of talked about for some drivers who have not had their ideal night. Of course, these guys can plan all they want to for a super speedway heat race, and then you actually get on the racetrack and things start to happen, and you got to kind of remake your plan on the fly. And for drivers like Baker and Ball and Boyd and now Jancic and the guys involved now in Anthony, McKinney, Stencil, Major, Wingo, you have to kind of remake your plan. You're now only going to have 15 laps to get 10, 12 plus spots and advance up through the field. Speaking of resetting the field, let's do that for you here as we get ready to go back green after the third caution of this 6th heat race, the opening one of night 3. John Ellis continues to lead the way as he tries to avenge last year's SummerSlam run. He was just short in last year's event of making the field, as he'll go from the point here on this restart. Freddie Bassinez in the 2nd spot also had a good run going in last year's SummerSlam 499, ended up on the wrong side of it. Sean Sullivan made the big run to the bottom. He and Michael Sturgill and Villalobos and a couple of other cars had just turned up the bottom there on the scene of the leaders, and the caution came out, so it'll benefit Sullivan here. So he'll go 3rd, Diedrich will go 4th, and Michael Sturgill is 5th. Logan York 6th, Aubrey Thompson 7th, Julio Villalobos in 8th. Josh McCullough 9th and Chris Carter 10th. Last 2 drivers in transfer spots, Chris McCullough and Bryce Hinton. That's pre-choose. Ellis will again go to the bottom. So once again, John Ellis continues to be loyal that bottom lane. He must see something down there that other guys have not seen throughout the week. Some guys that are out currently, Austin Call may have actually just gotten back in by virtue of taking the bottom. Justin Tutunchin, Bryce Hinton, who Jim Bob was talking about earlier, Wyatt Miller, Rocky Boyd, Josh Ball, Chris Blanchard, Matthew Baker, Craig Jancic, all currently out of transfer spots looking in this sixth heat race. But if you're liking what you're seeing so far, again, Heat 7, I cannot express how many huge names. PGR winners, marquee event winners, super speedway winners, winners from all over the iRacing service are in this next heat race coming up. So again, if you're liking what you're seeing now, more star-studded heat racing to come for 2 more here tonight. Again, this is the final night of heat racing. Tomorrow, the stakes amp up even more. 12 spots tonight in this race, Jim Bob. Tomorrow, we add 6 cars to the grid, 36 cars for only 8 spots. You think tonight's racing is crazy? Some of these guys are going to have to take notes for tomorrow night as well.
A lot of guys are going to be racing like a bat out of hell. Yeah, tomorrow the stakes ramp up even more. And to be honest, we haven't even really seen the intensity ramp up yet. We just only caught a glimpse of it. But I'm going to tell you, you go back to John Ellis, I'd love to know what he sees on that bottom, because the last couple restarts, he's had Bazinez behind him now. Bazinez jumps up to the outside lane. So either he feels like he can get a good jump and get in front of Bazinez, which even then I feel like Bazinez might try to go to his outside. Either that or he's putting a lot of faith in Sullivan to push him behind him. As I'll let you get ready to take it away again.
To the Simrat Market restart zone we go. 15 laps to go in heat race number 6. Ellis and Bazinez on the front row will lead us back to green. It's desperation time for some guys out back in the field. For the guys up front, you got to be careful. Make calculated moves to stay here, but don't do too much. Don't get over the edge and put yourself in a bad position late in this race. Ellis got a nice jump to turn 1, so he'll have his choice of where he wants his push to come from. He'll choose Sullivan for now. Sullivan will stay in line. He will not take the move to the outside. And does Ellis drag the line to the wall here off turn 2? No, he's going to stay to the bottom of the racetrack. So for the first time this week, a driver has chosen to stay completely loyal to the bottom as Ellis awaits the run from Bazinez in the center on the push from Dietrich, York, and Thompson. Now he'll turn up the racetrack. Veteran move from John Ellis. He waited just the right amount of time to maintain control of this race. He'll pull Bazinez, Dietrich, York, Thompson with him. Sullivan now leads the bottom with Sturgill, Villalobos, Carter, and Bryce Hinton. Austin Call was the first car to move out back, but nobody goes with him all by his lonesome. He'll get 1 car here to help in the form maybe of Michael Wingo, but he is going backwards in a hurry.
Like a rock tied to an anchor, he'll go all the way back, and now pressure will be on him with 14 laps to go to get back inside the top 12. Meanwhile, there's a 3-car breakaway. Make it 2. Sullivan comes down to the bottom side by side for the third spot. There goes Sullivan, spinning to the inside retaining wall. We keep it green, but right now, top 4 single fouled out. Battle for 5th underway between Thompson and Sturgill. As now, John Ellis brings them back again, and Bryce Hinton try to go to the 3rd lane. Nobody goes with him. He'll drop back as well, even further back to where he started. Well, I say that. Here comes Baker on the outside lane. The field comes into the tri-oval again. It is still Bazinez all over the back bumper of John Ellis.
And Josh Ball's in that lane too now. Baker and Ball, we've mentioned them at length of being in the back of the field and involved in incidents tonight. They now are in that 3rd lane, although Baker will turn left out of line. Josh Ball trying to jump back in as well, deeper in the field. He will not be as lucky as the Simrat Market number 5 was there. Oh, he's going to bump his way 4 wide into line, or try to rather, on Wingo. That didn't work as they play a little pinball deep in the field. They still are going at it. Now they're going to crash. Hinton, Wingo, and others. And that was back around where the desperation move started, and 4 wide was sparked up.
Michael Wingo involved in this one. Joshua McCullough as well, and that's going to be big. Bryce Hinton, meatball flag. So there'll be a fast repair coming up. The worst part about it, he'll be restarting damn near in the back as that motor has expired on that SummerSlam machine. What in the world has happened now to put us under caution? Let's see here. Well, the contact between, looks like 00 and Michael Wingo, and pulling it down. Okay, I stand correct. The ball comes down in the Wingo into the 00, and from there, it is on Bryce Hinton, just an innocent bystander, and bam, right into the outside wall. Him and Wingo both. Austin Call barely missing it, if I got that car right, at least. But again, it's at the back of the field, but lucky it does not take out at least the other four that was right behind them. And I'm anxious to see what are the guys for these next two heats. What are they taking out of this as right on board with Bryce Hinton? Again, nothing he can do. It'll be a fast repair coming up. But Dawson, there is not a lot of time for Hinton to get back into a top 12 spot. He's going to have to do some things he ain't never done.
Yeah, tough break for a few drivers there. Obviously, Bryce Hinton's a guy we highlighted in the open, and it's a guy that's had some speed coming into this event this week. He'll now be in a desperate position. That was back around where Josh Ball was trying to make the desperate move. Baker had just jumped back in line, and Ball was trying to follow him down, and he was basically trying to hip check Michael Wingo out of line and make himself a spot. And in the exchange there, Wingo goes down just a little too far and collects George Jewell. By the way, a tougher break for Josh McCullough. He was only back there because of a penalty for running over the choose cone on the last restart. We did not get to mention that before we went back green. He did get the end-of-line penalty last time, and that put him at the back of the field and caused him to be involved in that caution. So, man, a tough break gets even tougher. It's a 1-2 punch for Josh McCullough. A really tough break in that one. Multiple cars will come down to pit road to fix some damage. Well, with an opportunity under the caution flag for the fourth time tonight, we want to bring up one of the debuting drivers in this field, and the nephew of Dale Earnhardt Jr. What a unique opportunity it is to have Wyatt Miller running in this field. We don't want to take too much of his time, obviously, as we get ready to have a restart here, but we want to hopefully jump in and get a quick word with him as he talks with his team getting ready for this restart. The driver of the 73, Wyatt Miller. And having some problems getting him up here, so I'm not sure we'll be able to get to him on this restart. Looks like his channel appears to be completely locked. We're not able to get him up out of there. Well, now we're starting to potentially work on it here. So hold tight for just a second. We're trying to get Wyatt Miller up into the broadcast booth for a quick word with us before he goes back green on his effort in the SummerSlam 499. Again, his first exposure in this series, and he's gotten to see a crazy one, to say the absolute least, as we get ready to go back green. Now we've got him with us. Wyatt, sorry about that, but it's the boys in the booth. You got a copy.
Yeah, I got you.
Well, look, obviously your first exposure to what we do at PGR. This is your debut race. It's a heat race, and you've kind of been thrown to the fire a little bit. Take us through what you're seeing inside the car, your initial, thoughts, reactions, feelings as you're, kind of getting your feet wet here on the super speedway side of things.
Yeah, we're just kind of taking it easy, trying to get here top 12, or hopefully, try to get in the top 3, make it in the big show right off the bat. We're just trying to take it easy, not get into many crashes or anything. So far, we haven't been in a crash yet, other than the one under yellow, which was netcode. But I think we're choosing here, so I'm gonna see how many rows we can get here when we choose.
Well, I was going to talk about that really quickly. Obviously the game plan here, we'll give you a chance to choose, but what exactly is your game plan once we get back under the green flag? You've seen the kind of racing this event has produced so far. What is the strategy? What is the game plan? What are you planning to do to put yourself in position to advance to either tomorrow or directly to Sunday?
Honestly, just kind of conserve here and just try to advance is the whole thing here. So I'm just gonna take it easy, not try to push myself too hard and get in a wreck. I think we got 10 to go, so we're just gonna hopefully take it easy and maybe pick off a few more spots and put ourselves in the A.
Jim Bobby had something for Wyatt there before we let him get back to green.
Yeah, I'll make it real quick here. I will say we noticed outside middle lane, like they've all been the better of the lanes. Bottom's been kind of dead all night, to say the least. I got to say, what have you noticed between the top and the third lane? Which one do you like better?
Yeah, me and my spotters have been talking through that. Me and my spotter and my crew chief. So far, I've just stayed on the bottom the whole race. Most of the wrecks are happening up top, and so we're just trying to miss all the wrecks, and I think we'll end ourselves up front.
Well, Wyatt, best of luck the rest of the way. Thanks for the time, and we'll see if we're seeing you either tomorrow or in Sunday's SummerSlam 499.
Thank you.
Dawson.
Wyatt Miller, what a cool opportunity, Jim Bob, as we get ready to go back green for Wyatt Miller, the legacy that racing family has, for Wyatt Miller to carry that on, and for him to make his start tonight in PGR a special moment. And he's in a pretty good position here with just a few laps to go.
He's in a good position. I want you to take note real quick before we bring him down to the restart zone. John Ellis this time has gone to the outside lane. And I do not know if that is because of Bazinez, really. Bazinez all the way down in 23rd. So a lot of work to do for the number 2. But Ellis switching up the game plan here, going to the outside lane. I don't know if he's got to do work with Dyridge or not. Going to see how it works out and let you take it over here, boss.
Yeah, and a penalty on the choose cone as we were talking to Wyatt Miller. Freddie Basinez, one of the top 5 cars on the racetrack, ran over the choose cone and has been sent to the tail of the field and now has to make it happen in under 10 laps. It's crunch time in heat 6. Green flag back in the air. Ellis on the outside this time will control the restart. He fires off nicely, and Caden Diedrich does behind him as well. Sturgill, Tutunchin, and Miller got going on the bottom, and they'll be connected here in turn 1. I'm curious how good the push is. Ellis got the better start, but the bottom hangs around. But look at the help topside. 8 cars deep back to Carter. Just pushed all the way up through Ellis, but the bottom hangs on. Tutunchin, Sturgill, Miller, Rocky Boyd, and company down there on the bottom, making it happen. Down the backstretch as Tutunchin splits Sturgill in the center. An aggressive move for the 42.
I'll tell you, now we're starting to see a ramp up. See 31 stuck in the middle lane. He's going to fall outside of a transfer spot. All the way back to get pushed by Josh Ball now. Carter looks to the inside. Baker almost shuts the door on him. Matthew Baker looking to take it 3 wide. By God, he's going to take it 4 wide. Here comes Cole to the outside with Josh McCullough. Ellis brings him down. 8 laps to go this time.
And all of a sudden, the series co-owner, Matthew Baker, bursts through the field and gets all the way to the top 6, and he's not done yet. He shoves Villalobos through on the bottom. Rocky Boyd, Josh Ball in that line. We talked about Baker and Ball, how aggressive they'd have to be in the final 15 laps of this race to get back in it. They're not just back in it. They're going to burst all the way to the top 3 as the field will reach turn 3 again. By the way, some serious discombobulation back around halfway deep in the field. They're all going to sort it out for the most part back around the Austin Call car. Ellis and Diedrich get disconnected. There's the move topside by Baker. It's not a well-timed move considering the run on the outside trouble. Oh. Boyd gets turned. Rocky Boyd sideways on the apron. The bad night goes even worse with 8 to go as he gets off the inside wall and will come back up right onto the racetrack. It'll stay green, and Boyd needs a miracle.
Well, yeah, we'll need more than a miracle. But right now, Matthew Baker to the outside. You talked about it earlier. From the front all the way to the back, got involved in a wreck, and by God, he's right back in again. Down the back straightaway, middle lane. Got the momentum down side by side with the 45. Right now, Ball pushing that 45 right back out front. Wyatt Miller still in the mix, running in 7th spot. But I got to say, from what we've seen over the past few months, if they can get into a top 3 spot, I believe that John Ellis will not lead the back bumper, that number 5. We'll find out. Here comes Bazinez, 3rd lane, trying to get formed up with the McCulloughs behind him.
Yeah, it's a strong trio topside with Basinez, McCullough, and the other McCullough, Josh and Chris, leading that charge. Although Chris is going to dive back in line. Nope, now he'll jump back out. The help of Josh and Freddie on the outside. Julio Villalobos goes to the race lead. Aubrey Thompson to the bumper of Basinez, who took a look 4 wide there in turn 2 for a moment as he tried to square up. York in front of him. 3rd line's got some roll. Villalobos to the center. Ellis and Baker are going to block the top side. And a big stack up as one car is smoking here down the back straightaway. One car's expired the motor. I can't tell which one it is. It's Wyatt Miller in the 70. The engine is gone on the 70. If he can roll back to pit road, he can fix it. Boot spins into the outside wall. No caution yet, but a potential race ender for Wyatt Miller as the jockeying continues up front. Baker to the nose of Thompson, big slide. Basinez 4 wide, 3rd lane. Thompson gets squeezed, 4 wide in 2.5 lanes. How do we make that work with 5 to go?
It's simple. I don't know how the hell you're going to make it work, but by God, we're going to try it. 4 wide, back to 3, closer together in the Target parking lot. As right now, Baker and York working down the back straightaway. 5 to go this time. Bazinez trying to get us out of a transfer spot. Him and Ellis side by side, and I say transfer spot, but really, they're trying to get into the top 24 for tomorrow night. They'll bring them in turn number 3. Baker doing everything he can to stay in the lead. Right now, he's got York behind him.
Yeah, for Matthew Baker, we heard back in February after he won a heat race. Oh, man, Diedrich trouble. Around goes Michael Anthony. This is a multi-car crash. Diedrich comes back up. Jancic, multiple cars involved. Big crash in the entrance to the tri-oval that will send us into overtime.
Well, Dawson, I'm going to tell you, it'll be, well, I say it'll be a big break right now. Wyatt Miller's still smoking on the other end of the racetrack, but it'll be a big break for a couple drivers. Let's go back and see what happened, really, because, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm surprised they waited that long. Looked like it was going to happen off of turn number 4, or turn number 2, rather, but they waited till they got all the way back around. Let's see. Well, Dawson, I ain't gonna lie to you. That's just desperation at that point. You got essentially 2 fights. You got the battle for 12th from 4th through 12th, and then you got really the guys trying to get into the top 24 for tomorrow. As you see, pushed there to the back of Diedrich. I mean, he saved it there, and I would have thought he had it saved. He technically did, but comes back up, and right there, 45 gets loose. And Chris Carter, man, a tough break for that 25 machine. So he's going to go for a slide. 45, 1 point in the lead. So now, Dawson, I don't know really just by how the running order is. I don't know if some of these guys who are just up there within a transfer spot, whether the top 24 or the LCQ, I don't think there's going to be a lot left for them to really work with.
Well, yeah, you know, you mentioned Chris Carter. He actually only went for a half slide, so he's been given his spot back here under the caution. He'll be 6th on this restart. So a break for Chris Carter for the Flying Aces in CCR. But and a break for Wyatt Miller. He has gotten the car repaired. He's taken the fast repair, and he has, I believe, stayed on the lead lap. And in fact, he has. So he's still in this. Some cars coming to pit road, though. And that one's almost similar to what we saw earlier with Baker and Michael Anthony when the Josh McCullough stack up happened a little earlier. Josh threw it on the nose of Bryce Hinton, and that whole incident sparked up about 5 rows deep. That's what happened right there. The line stacked up when Diedrich tried to come back up, and a couple of cars tried to let him back in line, and in doing so, it stacked up the bottom lane, and there's just nowhere for those guys to go, so stack up gets worse on its way back. So some damage to those cars. The Lobos, Stencil, Jancic all come down pit road. Diedrich Booth, Rocky Boyd, Josh Ball come down pit road. There's Sean Sullivan. Has retired from the race. No, sorry, is not retired from the race. He is still on the lead lap, so apologies there. It looked like on my timing and scoring as if he had retired from the race, but he still is on the racetrack and on the lead lap. This is the first time, I think, all week that all 29 cars in the field, every car that started is on the lead lap headed to overtime. I think that's the first time this week that we have seen that. And now we transition to overtime. Let's remind you, if you're just joining us for the first time this week, what the overtime rule is for the SummerSlam 499, at least for these opening heat races. There's only one green-white checkered attempt. This is it right here, the one solo overtime attempt. There will not be a caution thrown on these 2 laps, no matter what. This race is going to finish under green. If the wreck is at the front, so be it. All incidents on the final 2 laps will be reviewed post-race. Remember back to last night. Wyatt Gray was given an end-of-line penalty at the end of his heat race after thinking he had driven his way in. The decision after the green-white checkered was, of course, to send him out of the event after the incident on the last lap. So, you know, despite the fact that you may race across the checkered flag if an incident happens around you, it's not guaranteed until race control makes results official after the race. So no matter what, we'll finish it right here. This race will finish under green, and from there the results will be decided after the race. Most of the heats have made it to the checkered flag relatively clean in the top 12, but a couple last night had some incidents that resulted in some lineup changes. Here's the choose. Matthew Baker to the top, Logan York to the top, Freddie Bassinez to the bottom in car number 2. He's the first car to jump down there. Ellis, McCullough both hold serve. A couple other cars holding serve on the outside. Inside, here are the cars that jumped rows to get track position. Bassinez, Chris Carter, Michael Sturgill, and then the Josh McKinney machine. Justin Tutunchin jumps to the bottom. Jared Smith goes to the bottom. Ted Lisby goes to the bottom. So a number of cars that were well outside the transfer spots are going to jump right into the thick of where this battle is going to start. And of the banking of turn one is when you got to start planning your moves. You do not have time to wait on this restart.
I'm going to throw a scenario that I think some of us are forgetting. This particularly around the transfer spots. Last night, John Ward rode in the back all the way up till it was crunch time. He got there and then ended up getting turned. And essentially, which I ain't too sure if he's got the provisional to get back into the last chance, but essentially, that's how it could go for a lot of these guys, particularly one that are knowing that they're not locked in unless they're in that top 12. And I just think back to what we've seen a lot tonight. You got practically Baker, Bazinez, Logan York. They've all been at the front. John Ellis, who's actually restarting sixth. I believe that's the deepest he's restarted this whole night. This right here, this final restart, no caution. Everybody is going to be going for every inch on this track. This is going to be make or break for a lot of drivers as Dawson are entering the tri-oval, and I'll let you take it back away.
The final 2 laps, the final opportunity for drivers to make their moves to get in to the SummerSlam 499 or to the LCQs tomorrow to at least survive to race another day. Matthew Baker brings the field to the Simrat Market restart zone. Green flag for the green-white checkered. Stack up out back around call. Everybody's up through the gears, though. And towards turn 1, Bazinez matched Baker on the punch. They'll be dead even to turn 1 as Bazinez made nose ahead for the race lead, although the help is better topside. York, Ellis, McCullough all connected. Carter will give Bazinez a shot, and it's a 2-horse race down the Alabama Gang Super Stretch.
Well, right now, there they go. Bryce hit the first one out of line, down the back straightaway, third lane. Quickly going to try to get going here. Baker surges out ahead, getting pushed by Logan York. Here comes Carter pushing Bazinez on the bottom. They're going to stay side by side with John Ellis. Now they're going to get up to Logan York. And right now, Baker is probably in the best spot he can be in. Rolling that middle lane, knowing he'll get the run off the corner. Kenny Dyer is trying to make something happen back around 18th. As right now, you're going to see it this time. White flag, 1 lap to go for heat 6. Dawson, take it away.
Matthew Baker will lead back to turn 1. The series co-owner wants to make another marquee start. You heard how important it would be to win one of these for him back in February. Can he get the job done tonight? Put himself one step closer through turn 2 for the final time. Baker off turn 2, racing with the lead. Bazinez noses up alongside him with a push on the bottom from Chris Carter for CCR and the Flying Aces. York is the help in the center. One car out back got spit out. That was Chris Blanchard. 2 by 2 back to turn 3 for the final time. Baker topside. Bazinez bottom side. Monster push on the bottom. Chris Carter, the push of his life to Freddie Bazinez, but it's not enough. Baker gets the side drift and gets the run off turn 4. And McKinney spins out of the transfer spots. They still try to crash. 4 wide in the tri-oval. Back around Diedrich. McCullough out of line. No contest up front. Matthew Baker wins heat number 6. York and Ellis join him in the feature.
Big damn. I'm going to tell you, it went a whole lot calmer than I thought it was going to. Sorry, got choked on my words there, but hell of a job for Baker.
And for Matthew Baker, again, back in February after he won his heat, at that point, he told us how much it would mean to him in the series that he has helped create and grow to win one of these events. And a good start again, similar to February, the best start he can get. Win your heat race, race for the pole tomorrow, and race in the feature on Sunday. He's almost as close as he'll ever be. Again, he raced back in February. We'll see if he can get the job done here in August. York and Ellis get the spots in the feature along with him. You have to imagine those will be official. From there, it gets a little bit interesting from them on back, as there were some incidents in the tri-oval on that final lap of the race. So we'll wait for some official result confirmations. Can tell you Josh Ball appears to be out. Chris Blanchard appears to be out. Wyatt Miller, Rocky Boyd both appear to be out at this point, amongst others. Justin Tutunchin will not start this year's SummerSlam. He was 2 for 2 in his career. But for Matthew Baker, he'll do the burnouts on the front stretch. And again, for some of these drivers this week that have won so much in their career, try to tell them these heat race wins don't mean something after you watch their burnout, because I promise you it does. And for Baker here, a spirited celebration to say the least.
Well, I'm going to tell you, he will get, as you said, this will be another chance for Baker to try to capture his first marquee PGR event as he burns it down, rightfully so. And I'm gonna say that final restart, Kane Dyrich out looking in. 2 laps later, Kane Dyrich right now, unofficial of course, like can't go ahead and just saying it on the broadcast, but right now, unofficially, Kane Dyrich will survive to see another day. As right now, Dawson, I believe Matthew Baker's waiting for us, and I think it's going to be one of the happiest days Matthew Baker's going to have as he is locked into Sunday.
I think you're right, Jim Bob, and let's talk to him real quick before we transition to heat number 7. The winner of heat 6 and the co-owner of PGR eSports, Matthew Baker, back in heat race victory lane. Baker, it's the boys in the booth. You got a copy?
Oh, let's go!
I told you.
And we figured, Jim Bob told us you'd be excited after this one, and look, we know from back in February that you'd be excited after a heat race win. You're excited then, you're excited now. A well-executed game plan. It took a turn in the middle of the race, but you managed to get back up front. What went into the execution tonight in this 6th heat race that leads to a trip to victory lane?
Yeah, it took a little bit of nose damage there. A lot of people were pushing like 7 deep towards the middle of that run, so it gave me some pretty significant nose damage. But man, I feel for Rocky. Rocky really worked with me well there, pushing on the bottom. We just stayed committed to the bottom on one of those restarts, and we're able to push our way through. And I'm having to block 4 lanes behind Logan. But man, Logan did a great job there on that last green-white checkered to get Simrat Market that 1-2.
Well, let's look forward to Sunday now. Of course, the heat win is done, and you've locked your spot in the feature. But tomorrow night you get to race for the pole. You know, kind of 2 questions in one. You know, how important would it be, or what would it mean to you to start on the pole on Sunday after tomorrow night's race? But, you know, what's the game plan, and how do you execute going about raising the championship belt and what surely would be a massive win? You told us back in February you want one of these bad. How do you get it done on Sunday?
Yeah, it's just, and I told Jim Bob this, I've been so close to some big wins, but like the 500, I've said it before, I just come to the mentality of being relaxed, you know, having some fun. I was a little bit nervous once I got put to the back, had to take my fast repair on one of those wrecks. But once I got up near Logan and John, I knew I could trust them, and Josh, and we really worked well together. And it proved there on that green white checker. Just stay committed to them to the top, and Logan did a great job pushing that whole time, manages his temps.
Jim Bob, any questions for the Heat 6 winner?
I got to say, I really want to ask, what went into making the pit stop earlier on in the event? I mean, I don't know if there was damage there or what the deal was, but ultimately, how did that affect the confidence level, especially getting turned on the back straightaway about a lap earlier? Did that kind of shake the confidence, or is this one of these things me and Dawson talked about under that particular caution? As a matter of fact, does it kind of prove how some drivers, they rise to the occasion, some handle pressure better than others? Was this more of one of them things where the pressure was on, time to buckle in and let's go?
Yeah, I think just I wasn't going to be able to win the race with the nose damage I had. I knew I could probably push really well, but that puts me in a compromising spot, you know, like with Ellis and with York, where I could push them, but I'm at the sacrifice of not going to be able to get first through third, I think. And Ellis, you know, he was able to eke it out, but just barely over Josh. So you saw how much it took to have a clean car and how much it meant to have a clean car to get to that finish.
Baker, it's a win for you here in Heat 6, a big start to your week. You're going to start the feature on Sunday, obviously more to race for tomorrow as you'll run for the pole. Before we let you go and start to prep for that, though, any thank you shout-outs you'd like to give here?
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a laundry list because I don't know if I'm able to do this again, but Coasting Thunder, MBG Motorsports, Baker and Son Construction, always on the car. Thanks to Simrat Market for their continued support in Colby. I really enjoy running their paints and making a bunch of paints for the SummerSlam. We've got a competition going on to get some people some provisional spots. Thanks to John, Ellis, thanks to Logan, Josh Ball. I know he had a little bit of misfortune there at the end, but they were all running fantastic. So thank you to all of them. Family watching back at home, grandma and mom. Know you guys are watching. Everyone that helps put this on. My co-owner Mike, and we never thought we could be where we're at today. Gonna get broadcasted on iRacing yet again on Sunday, and man, I get another shot to go out there and try and win a big payday. And thanks to everyone that runs in these. It wouldn't be possible without you. You guys up in the booth watching that whole time, man. Jim Bob and Dawson, you guys killed it. Jim Bob maybe looking at a Sunday spot with how good he was calling that race. Very impressed, man. Thanks for all you do for PGR eSports outside of the money racing scene. Enjoy watching your broadcasts, and Dawson for all your continued support as well.
Baker, thanks for your time. Congratulations on the win here in Heat 6. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. We'll talk to you tomorrow night in the top 24 shootout race and on Sunday for 499 miles.
Thanks, brother.
Love a job.
Matthew Baker, winner of Heat race number 6. The best start he could have asked for to his race week here in the SummerSlam 499. Well, we've been told the top 12 has been made official, so let's go through it here. The finishing results of Heat race number 6. Matthew Baker is your race winner by 39 1/1000ths of a second over Logan York, who did make a move in the trial there, but suffice it to say he was content in making it into the feature with a second place finish. John Ellis runs third. Again, nearly a flawless race to the 21 machine. He won't be denied this year. He's going to race in the SummerSlam 499 this time around. Josh McCullough recovers to finish 4th. Remember his couple of incidents in this one. Freddie Bassinez recovers from the penalty to finish 5th. Chris McCullough in 6th, and his PGR return will race tomorrow. So will Aubrey Thompson in the 7th spot. Chris Carter makes the LCQs in an 8th place finish tonight. Michael Sturgill, the ERA races back in March and April, goes in the 9th spot. You mentioned Caton Diedrich, the recovery for him. 10th is good enough to race tomorrow. Austin Call, the recovery to finish 11th. And Craig Jancic. Big time recoveries for all three of those drivers on the final restart to advance into spots in the transfers. They finished 10th, 11th, and 12th. And for Jancic, that's the second straight marquee event he has raced into after a crash on the final lap. So Jancic's luck for him, lightning strikes twice. Ted Lisby finishes 13th and is the first driver eliminated. Manazzi Major goes 14th. George Duell 15th. Michael Wingo in 16th. Julio Villalobos in 17th. Chris Blanchard in 18th. And working back through the field some more towards the tail end of the top 20, and some more of the guys that got, unfortunately, eliminated from this event. Josh Ball goes 19th. Michael Anthony goes 20th. Bryce Hinton 21st. Sean Sullivan 22nd. Justin Tutunchin, a tough break for him in 23rd, as he will not make his 3rd straight SummerSlam start. Jared Smith 24th. Jordan Stencil in 25th. Jacob Booth 26th. Josh McKinney in 27th. And a couple of shockers, Rocky Boyd, 28th, after running so well in this race, and Wyatt Miller in 29th. Neither will advance forward in the SummerSlam 499, at least at this point. Again, there is a last chance provisional race tomorrow. We'll tell you more about that as tomorrow's events kick off. When we get into last chance qualifier racing, we'll tell you exactly how that race is going to work at the end of the night. We'll transition over to Heat race number 7 and get ready for one of the most star-studded fields of the event to this point. You will not want to miss it. Don't go away from your TV sets, your smartphone, your laptop, wherever you're watching this race. Do not go away. We're going to be back in just a few minutes for the grid and the start of Heat race number 7. Stay with us on PGR eSports. We'll be right back from Talladega. Well, welcome you back to the virtual Talladega Super Speedway as the final night of heat racing rolls on for the PGR eSports SummerSlam 499. Again, my name is Dawson Wise, and if you're just joining us, I want to welcome you in for Heat 7 of an 8 total heat race preliminary setup that we have this week. This one will be very entertaining, I'll tell you, to say the absolute least. On tap is one of the most stacked heat races in any marquee event that I have ever seen, at least going into this one. Before we get going in this 7th heat race, do want to thank our heat sponsors here as we get going from Talladega once again. Want to thank our premier sponsors, That Towing Company and CCR and the Flying Aces, of course, for Chris Carter. A big drive for him in Heat 6 just a moment ago as he'll race in tomorrow's LCQ. But tonight, specifically for Heat 7, we have a number of presenting sponsors here for this heat race. 4 of them to be exact. The first is Jeff Merck Racing. Jeff Merck is a former United States Navy serviceman who's become a staple of the iRacing, money racing community from his home state of Florida. Merck has experienced plenty of success over the years, along with his fair share of tough luck, but he continues to compete and remains one of the longest tenured money racers in the community. Thank you to Jeff Merck Racing for supporting this year's SummerSlam 499. We also want to thank the Right Track Diecast and Racing. It was not planned this way, but both of our diecast sponsors have ended up supporting the same heat tonight. First, we would like to recognize Corey Wright and the Right Track Diecast and Racing. Corey built the Right Track from 2 of his biggest passions, NASCAR and sim racing. As an active iRacing competitor himself, he wanted to create a business that supports the racing community while providing collectors with a trusted source for authentic NASCAR diecast. The Right Track is an official Lino Racing dealer, offering NASCAR diecast and collectibles through eBay and whatnot. For Corey, this is about more than selling diecast. It is an opportunity to give back to a community that has provided competition, friendships, and countless hours of enjoyment. Thank you to Corey and the Right Track Diecast and Racing for supporting the SummerSlam 499 as well. Our second diecast sponsor, tonight's 7th heat, is Motor City Diecast and NASCAR memorabilia, owned by another member of our racing community, Mark Person. Motor City Diecast is a trusted source for authentic NASCAR diecast cars and racing collectibles. From the newest releases to rare vintage finds, every item is carefully selected, professionally packed, and handled with collector-level care. Visit MotorCityDiecast.com and start searching for the next great addition to your collection. Thanks to Mark and Motor City Diecast for their support of this year's SummerSlam 499. The final heat presenting sponsor tonight is JamSafe and Sean Gapinski. They provide wireless, battery-free jam detection technology designed to identify production concerns before they become production problems. Their innovative system helps companies detect potential issues earlier, reduce downtime, and keep production moving safely and efficiently. Thank you to Sean Gapinski and JamSafe for their support of this year's SummerSlam 499. Well, Heat 7 is about to get on track, and we'll quickly bring in the rest of our broadcast crew. Again, on the production controls is Michael Triscaro downstairs. But then with me in the broadcast booth in just a moment will be Jim Bob once again. We'll go downstairs first, though, to our pit reporter, Tyler Vickery. Tyler, a crazy night of racing there in Heat 6, but this 7th heat, you want to talk about a stacked field. This is one we've had circled all week long.
Oh, absolutely. And this is one of the ones where we've got an NASCAR driver of Matthew Zwack. We've got a lot of people that we know for sure are regulars in PGR, such as Kenny Reel, Jeff Merck. I mean, we've also got Danny Barnes is in this race. I mean, Ethan Eckert, Cody Nagels, a lot of the Nightmare guys. There are so many top names in this heat that someone is going to end up not making the feature or the LCQ. But this is one of the ones that I'll be very curious to see what happens here. And then even too, Kyler Wynn, we haven't seen him in a while. Kyler Wynn's going to be another one that you never know what to expect. So I'm looking forward to this. It's going to get really wild and very crazy.
Yeah, very wild to say the least. Jim Bob, quickly to you before we get under the green flag. Heat 6 had a little bit of everything, some great drives, some tough breaks, but Heat 7, again, we're looking forward to it here. You see the names. How excited are you for this 7th heat race?
Oh, baby, I'm ready. I mean, by God, the list about it is the most stacked race of the week, and I don't really care how the last two are stacked up. This right here, as Tyler said it, there is too many big names that there's going to be a shocker coming up here in the who gets in to Saturday, who goes to the top 24, and ultimately who will be one of the drivers going home. Because you look at it, we got Eckert, we got Nagels, we got Wright, Merck, the list goes on, but it's about to get, this is probably going to be the most highly anticipated heat of the week coming up here.
Well, let's meet the starters for heat race number 7, a race we've had circled this entire lead-up process since we got the assignments back on Monday. On the pole for this race, one of the veterans of super speedway racing, Devin Ray, in the white and neon yellow number 2, will start from the inside of the front row alongside the Nightmare eSports entry and the pole sitter for the first running of the PGR 500 back last year, Ethan Eckert, will start from the outside of row number 1. Row 2 will feature the eNASCAR pro Matthew Zwack, making another PGR marquee appearance. He'll start from 3rd alongside one of the heat presenting sponsors and one of the entries for the Jack Shack, Mark Person, will start from position number 4. Back on row 3, Daniel Nanny in the 30 machine, purple, white, and black aboard his machine. He'll start from 5th, and it's the former ERA Omega Cup Spring Bowl champ and one of the winningest drivers in PGR history, Cody Nagels, makes his SummerSlam attempt for Nightmare eSports from 6th. Row 4, another Jack Shack entry, in fact, a couple of them on row 4. Kenny Reel in the new black and neon, almost teal, number 11 machine tonight from 7th. It'll be Corey Wright to his outside, another one of the presenting sponsors from the 8th spot. And back on row 5, it's Jeff Merck, one of the other presenting sponsors and one of the veterans, one of the longest tenured drivers in the field. He'll go from 9th. James Goldman will start from the 10th position. Back on row number 6, it'll be Kyler Wynn, the Canadian driver and the former Podium 500 and Nazareth 500 champion. He'll start from 11th. Hunter Winkler will start from position number 12, carrying the number 62. Back on row number 7 and starting in the 13th position as we work back through the field. We went on the grid to come through here to row number 7 and the 13th position. As Kyler Wynn again, Kyler Wynn, Hunter Winkler will start on row 6. Back on row 7, it's going to be Anton Poliakov, Menards aboard his 25. Alongside him, the red, gold, and black Engine 41 Chevrolet of Andrew Zanto. This is a driver I've got my eyes on tonight. He was good in the recruitment process and looks to be good in his heat race tonight. Conan Mickey will start from 15th alongside the Blind Squirrel Racing driver Carl Lingle in the all-yellow number 30. Same paint scheme as February for him. Row 9 will feature the DraftKings Toyota Camry of DJ Thomas from 17th alongside another veteran of super speedway racing, the Nightmare entry of Dylan Jones, orange and white aboard that Nightmare Ford, a new look for him. Row 10, Danny Barnes in the all-pink number 7 will go from 19th alongside Cameron Hackett, carrying car number 24 tonight from the 20th spot. Row 11, Alex Lebaugh, another super speedway ringer and veteran, will go from 21st in the Rainbow 24 alongside Mark Moody in the bright green, number 111. He'll go from 22nd. Row 12, Austin Hobart starts from 23rd in a blue and orange 74. Alongside him, Talon Drake returns to PGR for the first time since the PGR 500 qualifications. Row 13, David Giusti in the Valvoline Chevy starts from 25th alongside the Chili Chevrolet of Jonathan Carter. He'll start from 26th. Row 14 will feature Sean Gapinski, the final presenting sponsor in this heat, alongside Aaron Smith, another veteran of the service. He'll start from 28th, this familiar all-yellow 70. And on the final row, Dale Tanhart will start from 29th in the all-red Budweiser-themed number 81, one of the big names in this field that will start from shotgun on it. 29 cars, 12 spots, the most stacked heat race of the week by far. The field will work to the Simrat Market restart zone for the first time. Green flag in Heat 7 from Talladega. Ethan Eckert leads the field down the backstretch for the first time as the outside takes control of the race once again. This has been the story of the week so far. Notably, we talked about right there in the brief moment under that green flag period that the bottom lane got the best start it really has all week. Ray and Zwack will lead that lane here off turn 4, but up top, it's Eckert, then Person, and the first move to the middle is Cody Nagels. He'll try to pick up his Nightmare teammate. Is out back of them. Kenny Reel through the center for the Jack Shack. Easy boys up front as we're 3 wide already on lap 2.
Well, did not take long for us to get tuned up, ready to go tonight. Here comes Person to the outside, hooked up with his teammate Corey Wright. Right now, Eckert hooked up with his teammate Cody Nagels. Right now, Devin Ray trying to make something happen on the bottom lane. Majority, or really, the advantage right now to Mark Person in that 77 machine, but Eckert pushing all over the back, or Cody Nagel's pushing all over the back of Eckert's Kenny Real for the Jack Shack. Oh, they're wrecking big in the back, hard into the wall.
Yeah, it was Talon Drake in the 82 that gets in the wall and will draw the caution for the first time on just the second lap of this one. It does appear that it has taken a couple of more cars with him. Cameron Hackett, Austin Hobart, Mark Moody involved. Possible that a couple of other cars may have gotten in this. Dale Tanhart appears to have gotten a piece of this as well in the 81 machine. So we'll go back and start to take a look. Man, big hit there for Talon Drake and for Hackett as well. Oh, and then Tanhart comes across and gets a couple of other cars. Hobart is one of those cars involved in this one as he got hit from all over the place right there. Meatball flag for Talon Drake. And Jim Bob, that is not the start you want. Lap 2 and already calamity at the back of the field.
It is not. And I got to say now, the one thing I would throw in this whole thing is now, as you see, 82, another foot or two, and he makes it through this, but bam, hard into the outside wall. But I will say now, we weren't even a lap 2 yet. And now you already got one fast repair gone and done for a night. Your one get out of jail free card is already gone. And I got to say, Dawson, as we look on in this probably the most highly anticipated heat race of the week, how does this affect these drivers who have to take who's going to have to take their fast repair? Because honestly, yeah, we see a meatball in the 82, but there ain't no telling all these guys involved in this wreck here who has probably 6-7 minutes worth of damage optional. Who's willing to take the fast repair? Who's willing to suffer through it? Because you never know with these heat races. It can go 6 cautions, or this could be the only caution in this heat that we see. So you're going to see a lot of drivers who were involved in this wreck make these decisions. Is it worth the fast repair now, or get as much damage as you can fix done before the end of this thing?
I'm curious to see what drivers decide. A lot of the drivers involved in that one, I think Drake and Hackett by far get the worst of it. Drake is the only one with required, but Hackett's car is not turning straight, so I imagine he will also opt for the fast repair here, as both those cars will reach their pit boxes. But for Tanhart, Smith, Hobart, and Mark Moody, I think they got away from this one relatively lucky, to where I think they could all save the fast repair and fix damage. And in fact, that's what all of those cars are going to do here under this caution flag. So for a number of cars, they are going to choose to opt to fix damage. For Hackett and Talon Drake, although Drake continues to sit in his pit box, I'm not sure he has taken the fast repair already, but he does continue to sit there. So we'll wait and see on him as well. But a bad break and not the start you want if you're one of those cars. Back to the front we go. It's very early still in this 7th heat race. Ethan Eckert continues to lead the way in front of his nightmare teammate Cody Nagels. Then it is a duo of Jack Shack Chevrolets behind them, and Mark Person and Kenny Real. Devin Ray runs 5th from where he started on the pole. Good run so far for the 2. Corey Wright up to 6th. Jeff Merck up to 7th. Hunter Winkler up 4 to 8th spot. Matthew Zwack has dropped all the way to 9th. Out of the bottom lane, started to give up some spots there on the initial start. Kyler Wynn is up to the 10th spot. Andrew Santos in the transfer positions in 11th, and Daniel Nanny is the last car in a transfer spot in the 12th spot. Notably, Dylan Jones went a lap down. I think he actually missed the start of this race, came out and went a lap down. He has gotten the lap back since then. His car is completely clean, but just happened to miss the start. But gets an early mulligan there. That's a big break for Dylan Jones, who, if this race had gone green for a little while, could very well have gone 2 laps down. And in a 35-lap race, it's tough to get one back with as many cars as we've seen go a lap down in these heat races. It would be near impossible to get 2 back. A huge break there for the driver Nightmare Esports, Dylan Jones.
Well, and I'll say the saving grace for Jones, other than his caution and getting his lap back, is he's got teammates in here. Now, we say that's a good thing, but here's the deal. Right now, at least 2 of them, and I believe it's the only 2, well, maybe not Kyler Wynn, but right now, at least 2 or 3 teammates are inside the top 10. Dylan Jones is down there past 20th. I believe the last time I saw it on the scoring, here it is, 24th. So Jones is going to have to work through all of this. See, drivers was like the lanes are a bit partial here, but Jones is still going to have his work cut out for him just to try and get up to the front. He can do it. We've seen it before, but with the stakes as big as they are and as stacked as this heat is, it's not going to be an easy task.
It's not going to be an easy task, but again, my mind takes me back to our last heat race. And you know, I know Josh Ball, Matthew Baker, Rocky Boyd, we're all back there together. But for Dylan Jones, he's still got some cars back there that can absolutely make this happen. Aaron Smith, Dale Tanhart, Talon Drake, all towards the tail end of the field. Guys that have been in this situation before. He's not far behind. And guys like Alex Lebaugh has been doing this for a long time. Danny Barnes, you know, and others up towards the mid parts of the field. So for Dylan Jones, he's got some help back there that he can make the run happen. We saw it in the last heat. You can make runs happen. I think of, you know, Josh McCullough, Bryce Hinton, Matthew Baker, amongst others that were able to come from the back to the front and do so pretty quickly. But obviously for Dylan Jones to have this happen early in this race, not a start that you want, and obviously kind of throws off, you know, the mental part of the game as well. So you got to get locked in quickly. For Dylan Jones there, he'll get a quick opportunity to reset, basically start this race over here on this opening restart. 5 laps in, it'll be lap 6. When we go back into the green flag here in a moment. By the way, we did not get a chance to mention it last time around. If you're just joining us, the choose cone rather is in effect this week. Drivers will be able to choose which lane they want to restart in. The start-finish line is where you have to declare your lane choice. There is no marking on this virtual rendition of Talladega for the choose cone like there is on the real-life track. Drivers have to use the A in Talladega, the middle A in Talladega. If they run over the box, you get a penalty. We saw several in Heat 6. See if we see any more in Heat 7. Eckert Nagels shows the top. Devin Ray takes the onus to go to the bottom. So does Merck, so does Zwack, so does Wynn. It's veterans on the bottom side of the racetrack. To the Simrat Market restart zone. Green flag back in the air. Outside got a monster jump. Eckert got going. He's going to be clear. Nagels will be clear. Kenny Reel's going to drive all the way to 4th as Zwack bails on the bottom. He'll go right bottom to middle into 1.
Right now, there you see it for Zwack right now. This, for some guys, they're going to take what they can get, whatever they want. Here comes the Jack Shack son, Kenny Reel. To the outside, going to put the Nightmare drivers in the middle for now. Still room to go to the top, maybe not. Eckert up to block Kenny Reel. As right now, Zwack to the back bumper of Cody Nagels, Devin Ray, Jeff Merck, not able to get nothing going. As right now, it's about to be on for that 12th spot. As side by side for a lead, off of 4. Reel with the run in that middle lane, getting pushed by Connor Wynn. Wynn now pushing Kenny Reel to the top spot, top 2 cleared. As Dawson Wise is getting 3 wide, about mid-pack.
A couple of cars trying 3 wide up back. I think Hobart was one of those cars actually in the 74. He is. Dale Tanhart, Aaron Smith are going to follow him up towards the tail end of the field, but it continues to be 2 by 2 up towards the front. Outside is Reel, then Wynn, then Person, then Wright, and then Poliakov. First time we've seen him at the front tonight. Bottom side, here comes the run back to the bottom. Eckert trying to get it going with Nagels and Zwack and others. Wynn's going to turn left. Kyler Wynn, the bumper of Ethan Eckert, and he will vault to the lead here in turn 3 of this heat race. Remember, he did not make the PGR 500 back in February. He's trying to make his first marquee start in 365 days this weekend in the SummerSlam 499 out back. So moves to the outside as cars look topside. Winkler is 1, Zanto is 1, Lingle is 1 as well. That's back around the 10th position on the racetrack. Wynn leads at the line. Reel is his push. 3 Jack Shack teammates lined up topside. Reel, Person, and Corey Wright.
Well, 3 wide still, and I got to say, hell of a good time seeing Carl Lingle back. Great to see Blind Squirrel racing back here in PGR and in the Money Racing City right now. Lingle trying to race his way into an LCQ. I'm sure he'd be a lot happier if he get up there in this top 3, but right now, Kyler Wynn will lead 3 of the Jack Shack drivers in Reel, Person, and Wright into turn number 3. Jeff Merck looks to the outside, make it 4 Jack Shacks as they come on turn 4 again. Right now, Kyler Wynn, or Ethan Eckert rather, trying to get this bottom lane back rolling with Zach. And I got to say, Dawson, bottom lane at this point just does not look like it's got what it takes to try to contend for this win.
Yeah, so far, the bottom lane's not been able to get much going. They will get some going here on the entrance of turn one. That's because Corey Wright took the turn out of line. He'll go to the bumper of Ethan Eckert. Should be noted, by the way, it appears that if Kyler Wynn is working with those Jack Shack cars on the top side of the racetrack in this race, so no wonder the moves have been pretty coordinated up front, 82. And the Jack Shack cars, one car just blew up. Santo blows up middle of the field and gets turned into the outside wall, and that will draw the caution.
62 involved as well. Andrew Santos meatball flag, and that will be a fast repair coming up. Only 9 laps into this. Matter of fact, he tows it back. So you mentioned losing a lap is bad enough. Santos having to tow back to the pits. This could very well cost him possibly 2 laps even. So tonight could be done for Andrew Santos. As what in the world happened here? Right there, Santos already around, and he gets absolutely blasted by the 82. One of them who's already took his fast repair. Look at it here. And so you get it rolling here for a moment. Look at it from the blimp cam. There we go. So, yep, blows it up. And Dawson, I'm going to tell you, that from the broadcast perspective and the very few races I've done, is a scary feeling. You hear a pop, you see smoke in front of you, and then in this situation, there's absolutely nowhere to go for some of these guys. You've been a part of it. I've been a part of it. Pretty sure everybody here at one point who's races has been a part of it, and it's just one of these things, again, something else to keep an eye on, because at this particular moment in time, you ain't focused on the temperature gauge at all.
Yeah, it's a tough break for Zanto, obviously blowing the motor. And actually, this happens over the course of about 5 seconds on the backstretch. So, in the car there for Zanto, you kind of hear it rev down just a little bit, and you know the temp is up there for him, and it starts to rev down, and then it pops into turn 3. So it's helpless for several seconds as you know you're about to pop the motor, but you just don't know when it's going to happen. And for Zanto there, he tries to hold it straight, but there's only so much you can do when you're pushing 10, 12, 14 cars in line. There's only so much that can be done at 200 miles an hour. For Zanto there, it's a tough break, and even tougher break for Talon Drake. He had just gotten that car fixed and back out on the racetrack, and it appears as if his night is going to come to an end on lap 9, an early end to one of the PGR 500 drivers' attempts at the SummerSlam 499. So Talon Drake becomes the first car tonight to retire due to incident. Andrew Zanto sits on pit road, already a lap down to the leaders. We'll await and see if he's able to get back on track. Hunter Winkler, Mark Moody, both got pieces of that, as well as David Giusti. Those cars have been able to continue. Winkler is making extended repairs on pit road as we speak. Let's reset the field for you. Second caution of the night inside of the lap 10 mark is when that one was thrown. And Kyler Wynn continues to lead the way over Kenny Real and Mark Person, the Jack Shack teammates. Ethan Eckert runs fourth, and Jeff Merck runs fifth. Again, it's a good catch from Jim Bob. Jeff Merck is running with the Jack Shack contingent tonight, so it does appear as if they have 5 cars in this race. Merck, Real, Person, Wright, and Wynn. Speaking of Corey Wright, he runs 6th. Dylan Jones runs 7th. We just talked about on the last restart about him getting back to the front of the field and making the run, and if anybody was going to make it happen, it'd be a driver like Dylan Jones. He's back up to 7th all of a sudden. Zwack runs behind him. Devin Ray runs 9th, and Cody Nagels has dropped to 10th. Last 2 drivers in transfer spots right now are Anton Poliakov and Danny Barnes, as we get ready to choose next time by. Obviously a couple of incidents early in this race. I think it's a good opportunity to head down trackside for the first time, and a bit of an interesting look on this incident. Tyler, what is the update on the Andrew Zanto incident there? What happened on the racetrack? Was it maybe a little bit odd from what we're used to seeing?
Yeah, it seemed like an odd one, because on the radio, it didn't, especially with how we seen it on the replay, Santos wasn't close enough to the car in front that would usually heat up the engine to a point where you're hitting the warning levels of a motor expiring. Race control was talking to him, trying to figure out what could possibly happen, what his temperatures were. His temperatures was only sitting between 172 at one point. We're estimating probably maybe closer to 208 to 282. But even then, at that kind of temperature level, you're not fully at the risk of having a motor expire. Normally, with these motors, you can push them almost up to 300 degrees or a little higher before a motor would have before you give a chance of having the motor expire. So, very interesting situation there. And then Race Control deemed it as just a freaky incident. So it was unfortunate for a few others getting caught up in it. But yeah, it was a very weird situation with how that all happened.
And thank you, Tyler, for that report from Track Level. And this is something we've seen on the iRacing service quite a bit over the last few months. Engines blowing up when they're not supposed to. Again, that is, and for those that are, not familiar with this race car, again, 260, 270, 280, that is warm under these race cars. That's when you have to start managing your temperatures, as we'll call it. Guys will back off. They'll lean out of line. You'll see them kind of poke the nose out into clean air to cool the engine off. That's about what the number was for Andrew Zanto there. There is no reason that car should have blown up at that temperature. Again, you could push it a lot higher than that, but that car pops for Zanto in the middle of the field. A really tough break for him there that puts him behind the 8 ball. In fact, he has gone only 1 lap down. I'm not sure how he stayed 1 lap down, but he has only stayed 1 lap behind the leaders and is in position for a lucky dog should we get another incident. And there's still a long way to go in this race. 23 laps to be exact on the green flag. Looking at the choose, Kyler Wynn, Kenny Reel, Mark Person all hold serve. So does Jeff Merck on the outside. So does Cody Nagels. But the inside charge, Ethan Eckert, no surprise to me, takes the bottom. Corey Wright splits from his teammates here and goes to the bottom behind Eckert. Dylan Jones goes to the bottom. Matthew Zwack goes to the bottom. And Devin Ray follows up with them. And as we get ready to go back green here quickly, Jim Bob, obviously the Jack Shack cars controlling the race. No surprise to me, though. A couple of those nightmare cars, including Ethan Eckert, go to the bottom.
And to be honest, we look at Corey Wright, and I'm going to say this real quick as Phil gets ready to go to the restart zone. I feel like if the opportunity presents itself, either Mark or Kenny is going to let Wright up to the outside as we get set to go to the restart zone. Dawson, she's all yours.
Yeah, Corey Wright, one of the drivers for the Jack Shack tonight. You wonder if he didn't expect Eckert to take the bottom as we work back to the Simrat market. Restart zone, green flag. Eckert matches Win on the punch, but the outside push is better as those 3 team cars tonight, or allied cars, shall we say, are able to time up the restart. So too is Jeff Merkin. It's 4v3 up the banking of turn 1. Cody Nagels is able to jump down in front of Matthew Zwack. So now we're going to have almost a team battle here off turn 2. Nagels looks to the right rear of Merck and says, thank you very much. Ooh. It's a fake out move for Cody Nagels as he spits Jeff Merck out of line. Down to backstretch, Zwack goes with him. Jeff Merck, the loneliest man in virtual Talladega, and his teammates have to jump up to try to pick him up. Zwack left to lead the middle as Nagels splits those cars up for just a moment.
Well, you're already seeing, I think, the tone of this race. If you can get the team, this is the most team advantage race we've had all week. So if you can get a nightmare car split from a nightmare car, you're doing great. Vice versa goes to the Jack Shack. So right now you're seeing the King Games as Kyler Wynn. Good God Almighty, almost lost it through the trial. Almost. Here it goes, Kenny Rail, Jack Shack, 1, 2, 3 on the outside lane. But right now, Wynn holding the 2 nightmare cars that bay of Ethan Eckert and Cody Nagels, or was. They'll go down to the bottom lane. Corey Wright tends to that bottom lane, which right now ain't getting a lot of help at the moment, but that could change the inner turn number 3.
Man, that was a huge block from Kyler Wynn a second ago on Kenny Reel, and that's why he's able to win so many of these races, is the precision with which he's able to make some of those moves across the nose of the car behind him. He does there with Reel and maintains the lead and continues a Jack Shack 1 through 4 top side of the racetrack. Middle is 3 cars running together. Actually, it's 4 cars running together under the Nightmare banner, at least temporarily in this race. Eckert, Nagels, Zwack, and Devin Ray all running together in this race and all have found each other here in the center lane. Danny Barnes is with them as that line's going to fade all the way to the bottom. DJ Thomas is down there as well. Man, Kenny Reel, that was almost tunnel vision in turn 1. He and Ethan Eckert get together. That splits those Jack Shack cars up big time and may give Nightmare a bit of an advantage here down the back.
Here goes Stan Hart looking to the outside lane, trying to get that third lane back, rolling with Carl Lingo and Corey Wright, who at one point on the restart was well within a transfer spot. Now, Wright trying to get back inside the top 12. By God, they're going to go 4 wide. Contact made in the back and almost gets turned as Ethan Eckert.
Oh man, Tan hard off turn 4. That was close with the James Goldman machine as they were very offset against the outside wall. That's the outside charge. as the Jack Shack cars continue to lead the way. Eckert got spit out right there. Not sure what kind of miscue happened between those two teammates, Nagels and Eckert further back, but both of them have been spit out towards the tail end, as have Zwack and Devin Ray as they start to work back up. They're around Dylan Jones, their other teammate now. Merck jumps up to block Goldman. Middle's now led by Nanny, then Winkler in the center lane, then Hobart, who's been involved in a couple crashes tonight. He comes forward in the center, but it's all Jack Shack up top four. Continue to run clear back to Jeff Merck, doing a good job controlling the race to this point, but here comes another run from the middle as Goldman will jump down in front of Nanny. He'll go all the way to the bottom and try to lead this bottom charge as Nagels gets a run on the bottom out back.
Well, Carlingo almost gets turned off of Corey Wright. Hell of a save. But right now, I got to admit, I'm impressed with Goldman as Carlingo meatball flag. Unknown the reason why maybe has blown up here at Talladega, but right now, 3 wide. But out front, Kyler Wynn getting a huge push from Kenny Real. Real's going to look to the middle. Person's going to go with him. Eckert pushing Jeff Mark. And right now, Nanny trying to get that bottom lane rolling with Zach and Barnes. And multiple other ones down the back straightaway. 19 laps to go. And Dawson is slowly starting to pick up on the intensity scale.
Well, Ethan Eckert's picked up the intensity and cranked the dial to 11. He just got around Dale Tanhart like he was standing still in turn 1 a moment ago and got to his right rear and was trying to get to Jeff Merckx there for a moment to split up those 14 cars top side of the racetrack. Middle continues to be Goldman with Nagels and Winkler. Bottom side is Nanny. 4 wide. Ethan Eckert to the third lane. Merck down to side draft. Nagels blinks and has to jump back in line. A tough break for Nagels. Ray will pick him up as Corey Wright jumps 4 wide around them. Winkler around Goldman, and almost too many moves to figure out here. Eckert just split Tanhart a moment ago. Tanhart says no harm, no foul, and chooses to push him here on the bottom of the racetrack. Eckert bottom, Tanhart with them. First time Dale Tanhart's traveled to the front of the field is out back. It is a mess from Devin Ray on back. 4 wide, a couple of rows. They're going to sort it out here to 3, and after all that, Merck leads the top, and the Jack Shack cars have a decision to make. Is that outside's going to get rolling here off 4? Wynn will turn left instead of right, throw a block on Eckert, and right back up he goes, but Eckert has the run on the bottom.
He threw a block, unfortunately, really not do nothing, but there you see, you mentioned Eckert would have run on the bottom, how quickly it stalls out, as now Colin Wynn right back to the lane control again, as it is Wynn, Real in person now, going into turn number 1, Zach right behind him, and right now, honestly, Dawson, I'm wondering, are these guys thinking about just transferring into an LCQ, or are these guys in the top 5? Is their priority right now just getting into the top 24? Here comes Zach to the outside lane. A big run for the 74, Herbert up the middle lane.
Yeah, Zwack makes the move to the outside as now again those Shack cars have a decision to make. Mark Person wasn't fast enough to block the Zwack machine. He'll have to stick in the middle, and that checks the middle lane up all the way back through Dylan Jones. Going to stall their momentum for a moment. Real and Wynn were able to get up on the Zwack machine, but again, those cars are somewhat split now as Zwack got up in front of Jeff Merck. 4 wide again. Nagels to the third lane around Corey Wright. Winkler thinking about third lane. Tanhart thinking about second lane as he wants to trip 4 wide as he gets up around Ethan Eckert. 4 wide back around Nagels. That's 3 rows deep in the field, making 4 rows deep in the field up the banking of turn 1. Person goes with Nagels over Tanhart. That's third lane. Tanhart stuck with no help. They are door banging like it's a short track Saturday night in the middle of the racetrack, but Nagels is going to be able to get the push and somehow get through that situation. The big winners out of that, Wynn, Merck, Winkler, Real, who all get through the mess. Real to the bottom. His teammates will cover. Winkler left out, and some more contact between those 2 cars, but they're crashing further back, I think.
Yes, they are. And the number 10 of Mickey involved in this, as so far, no caution yet, so they're going to keep it green. Okay. So if it's in the back, keep it going. Not the best terms that I can give out for it. As right now, Jeff Merck on the outside. Merck trying to lead some more here at Talladega, but Kyler Wynn at 82. Right now, I'm beginning to think that that car, if he can make it into the main event on Sunday, that 82 very well could be the car to beat. But right now, getting pushed by Merck, getting pushed by Real. Zach up in the mix, Cody Nagels outside at one point, looking in. Nagels battling right back for a transfer spot to the top 24 tomorrow night. Dawson, 15 to go. They're getting in. See, I can already look at it and tell.
Another big block from Kyler Wynn on Cody Nagels. Remember how good Kyler Wynn was last year in the qualifications for the SummerSlam 499 and led laps on Sunday for his race winner ride with a couple of crashes. He said he was going to win last year's event. He certainly looks to be just as on his game this year. But Nagels works to his left elbow. He'll go to the race lead as the Jack Shack cars heat up just a little bit on the outside and have to tailor their pushes just a tad. Nagels noses ahead. Hobart is his push with Eckert and Ray in line with him for Jack Shack Chevys. Top side, Wynn, Merck, Reel, and Mark Person. Daniel Nanny through 4 wide. Further back, Devin Ray got spit out by DJ Thomas. He's got Dylan Jones and Dale Tanhart in tow with him. The DraftKings Toyota through the center. Person will cover here in the banking of turn 3. Move Thomas to 5th on that outside behind the Jack Shack Chevys. Off turn 4 continues to be 2x2 the first 5. Make it 6 rows back to Dylan Jones. Zwack right, the big losers in that one as they go backwards. Jones thought about a move 3 wide. He'll get to the right rear of Thomas here at the start-finish line.
Well, again, for the lead, Cody Nagels, one of them drivers, always one you expect to be out front in any race at any time, especially in a race like the SummerSlam 499 or the PGR 500. And right now, proving no different. Lap car is going to play a factor in this with the 3 wide. Right now, sticking to the middle lane. Here comes Kenny Reel to the outside. Big block on Dylan Jones as the lap car is going to stay right in front of him. Kenny Reel with a massive split to the outside and keeps on going. Big side draft on his teammate, but that lap car has really kind of, I guess you say, really messed up the run that the outside lane had going momentarily.
Man, if I'm Dylan Jones or Daniel Nanny or Matthew Zwack, I am not happy with the lap car right there. And that car that was up against the outside wall was Jonathan Carter. He made a late move to go to the outside. He almost turns Kenny Reel right in front of the entire field. It was daring from Reel to go between that car and the wall. But nonetheless, somehow they make it work, and we stay under green in what has been incredible racing here up front. 12 to go. Kyler Wynn, let's reset it for you. Wynn leads over Merck, over Person, over Reel in the outside, then Tanhart, Thomas, Leebaugh, and Corey Wright. Eckert up to the center. Nagels up to the center. They've got cars coming with them. Devin Ray is the white, black, and neon yellow number 2 in the center. 4, 5 Nightmare eSports entries in the center, led by the team captain Cody Nagels, and they've got a big run through the middle lane. Hobart and some other cars on the bottom side of the racetrack. Danny Barnes is in that line. Winkler and others get kind of spit out there and get left out to dry. It's Jack Shack against Nightmare here in Heat 7. All of their cars virtually are lined up here with 11 to go. Nagels and the Nightmare group on the bottom. Jack Shack topside.
Well, and then you mentioned Nightmare and Jack Shack. Arguably, for the better part of 2026, it has kind of been who is the better of the two. Right now, consider it, for my opinion anyway, consider it Duke and Carolina to a degree. Right now, 2 of the biggest teams in money racing going after it here in Dawson. This is just for a spot, either in the LCQ or the transfer in to Sunday night into the top 24 to tomorrow night, as right now 10 laps to go. Kyler Wynn has led the way just about since the get-go, but Tanhart trying to make that outside lane come back together, as right now 3 Nightmare drivers on the bottom as Kyler Wynn brings them right back in turn number 1 again.
Yeah, they're trying to get the top lane working, but they're not quite side drafting enough with Tanhart, Thomas, and Jones. Now they're going to get a nice shot through 1 and 2. It's going to kind of vault that line forward just a little bit here off of turn 2. The lap car of Carl Ingles up ahead. He did blow up just a little while ago, pushing Dale Tanhart. He came to pit road and took the fast road. Now the outside's going to collapse. Jones out of line, Nanny out of line, Wright out of line, and all of a sudden those cars are going to go backwards. And so again, it will be 2x2 up at the front of the field. Wynn, Merck, Person, and Reel have run nearly flawless in this heat race so far, but the Nightmare group rallies another try on the bottom of the racetrack. 9 laps to go at the line. Merck trying to cool as the outside rallies another charge. Tanhart, Thomas, and Wright want to get the line going. This time they're tandemed up and rolling towards the front.
Well, right now trying to cool the motor, you got to think right now for every time one of them drivers has to cool the motor, as Carl Lingle, he's going to go against the wall. He wants to stay out of the way of this whole mess. But for every time a driver has to cool off the motor, get the test back down, it only adds to that outside lane, and in some cases, it'll add to the middle lane. Get right back in it, as right now, it might be 9 to go, but this is far from over. Right now, one of the big ones that we anticipated going through tonight, Well, actually, two of them, Dylan Jones, Devin Ray, right now sits outside of the top 12 transfer spots. As here comes Tanhart to win another run. But Connor Wynn continuing to show the way, but Zach on the bottom, trying to make something happen. They'll be 3 wide for third.
Oh, Tanhart thought about 4 wide right there in the 81 top side, but Merck and Wynn said no. Wynn goes top to bottom to block Swack downstairs. Swack and Nagels are going to get the run off of that because that splits the Jack Shack cars. Merck stuck topside now with Tanhart. They are reeling on that outside lane now all of a sudden, and for the first time in what seems like 15 laps, Wynn's going to lose the lead, but not for long. Kyler Wynn back to the outside. What that does, it breaks up the momentum. Nagels sweeps bottom to top. He's the leader. Nightmare 1-2 off of 4 as Eckert goes to the push of Devin Ray.
Well, you're seeing it now. These boys, they're letting it all hang out. Right now, you have 7 laps as they are 4 wide again for third on back, near about. Cody Nagels, the odd man out, stuck on the outside lane. Kyler Wynn shows the point again. Dawson, you're seeing now 7 laps, and only 7 will either determine if you go to Sunday night or to an LCQ, or if you will be packing up, heading home way earlier than what you anticipated. As right now, Ethan Eckert back up the middle with Devin Ray.
Cody Nagels tries the rail run out back 4 wide as he gets desperate with 7 laps to go. Almost trouble to stack up. DJ Thomas gets turned. Busty sideways. Everybody saves it somehow, because why not? Off turn 4, Eckert and Ray go to the lead in the Nightmare cars. Wynn relegated to third. Where did Austin Hobart come from? Oh, man, Devin Ray mistimes it there in the trial. The Nightmare cars get off center, and that's going to spit Eckert out of line, and the Nightmare cars going backwards again to the help of Nagels. Wynn back to the lead. Trouble. Zwack just turned Kenny Reel as he blinked off screen. They save it again, because why not in turn 1 as Zwack will go to Reel's push. 4 wide, 2 rows deep, and Tanhart's going to crash.
Tanhart. Big in the one. There they go. Wrecking out the back. You knew it was coming. And I mean, this will practically, they're just going to re-rack it and redo it again. Daniel Nanny, meatball flag on that machine. Danny Barnes around back behind him. James Goldman, fast repair coming up for him. And Dawson, we knew it was coming. Drivers starting to get desperate. Some trying to ensure that they will go to the top 12. And ultimately, I am surprised that it did not take out more than what it did. Big break for Santos. He should be the first car 1 lap down, and will have a shot at this with only a handful of laps to go.
We finally get an opportunity to take a breath in this heat race. Oh, man, it's horrible netcode. Tanhart to DJ Thomas there as they were tight 4 wide in turn 2, and Tanhart bounces off the 19 a couple of times. I thought they were going to make another save, but Tanhart just cannot get that car out from underneath him, and he ends up turning Thomas and sandwiching Daniel Nanny into the outside, while the other car involved is the 20 there on the inside. That's James Goldman. Now, the lucky part for the 30, the 19, and the 81 appears to be they don't have too major of damage, at least not from what I'm seeing so far. I think all those cars are going to be able to make it back to pit road and repair the damage here under caution. But for Goldman, I think he went down and got the inside wall. You see it there again, net code 81 to 19. And from there, Nanny, nowhere for him to go. Oh, Danny Barnes gets involved in this as well in the 7. I didn't see that before. Danny Barnes goes for a slide, but it's Goldman into the inside wall. That's the big hit out of this one. Oh, man, Barnes got it too. So a couple of cars there with big damage. That's Danny Barnes and Goldman. Lucky for Thomas, Tanhart, and Nanny, potentially unlucky for Barnes and Goldman.
Well, I got to say, it might be sim racing, but there are some hits that even on a sim race will just, you can kind of feel it, and that was a big one for Danny Barnes. My question is now, as far as Tanhart's concerned, yes, we've seen miracles be performed. Again, I hate to be a broken record, but Alex Hill last night, the drive of his life, Chase Mastretta, 26 tonight to get in. But the common denominator in them was there was still, well, I say common denominator, and of course Chase Mastretta on the last lap. But for Alex Hill's case, there was enough time to get back up there and stay there. For Tanhart, can he pull a rabbit out of the hat and get right back up to the top 12? Because Dawson, I'm going to tell you now, I don't know if we're going to an overtime or not, but at this point, all bets are off. Like, all bets are off. Guys are going to start getting more aggressive now than what they were earlier in the night.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, after the racing we just saw, by the way, the last, whatever, 14 laps it was under this run, some of the best racing of the week, probably the best racing of the week. And if that's a preview for what's in store not only tomorrow, but for 499 miles on Sunday, we are in for an absolute treat, to say the least. But these drivers still have to make it. I mean, some of the moves Kyler Wynn and Kenny Reel and Devin Ray and Ethan Eckert, Cody Nagels, and Jeff Merck are making are moves you'd see on Sunday with about 5 miles to go in the feature, let alone halfway through a heat race. And these guys are just throwing haymakers like a boxer in the 12th round. I've used this analogy before, like a boxer in the 12th round, just spending everything he has left in the tank. That's what these guys have been doing for the last 15 laps. We knew this race would live to the billing, but boy, has it done that and more as we get ready for the late stages. And these guys still have to finish the job. This race is not over. So let's reset the field and kind of give you the lay of the land of who's in and who's out if the race were to end right now. A couple of notes real quick before we choose. The cause of the caution there is a racing incident. It was net code. A couple of fast repairs used there, though. And it was not the cars I thought for sure. Dale Tanhart uses one in the 81, and so does DJ Thomas. So both of them are on their final cars as they are in do or die mode now. In fact, Dale Tanhart did say that. Thanks to our pit reporter, Tyler Vickery. Dale Tanhart says it is do or die time with just a few laps to go. It's time to make something happen with the driver of the 81. Pre-choose, let's reset. Kyler Wynn, Mark Person, Kenny Reel, Devin Ray, and Matthew Zwack are your top 5. Ethan Eckert, Hunter Winkler, Austin Hobart, Jeff Merck, and Anton Poliakov run through the top 10. Cody Nagels and Corey Wright round out the transfer spots as of now. Drivers out pre-choose: Dylan Jones, Alex Lebaugh, DJ Thomas, Aaron Smith, Dale Tanhart, Danny Barnes, Andrew Zanto, both regulars. Carl Lingle still laps down to the leader. So a number of names still at this point are out looking in. And after the choose, again, on par, the Jack Shack cars all choose the top. Top 3 go to the wall in Wynn, Person, and Reel. And a couple of nightmare cars go to the bottom. Zwack to the inside of row 1, Eckert to the bottom of row 2. Jeff Merck splits out a line from the Jack Shack cars here and goes to the inside of row 3. Poliakov to the inside of row 4, and then Nagels chooses the inside of row 5. An interesting decision for Merck here, Jim Bob, in the fact that he goes away from his teammates, but likely knows the mid-pack is not where you're going to want to be on this restart. Some of the big names here with the moves that we have seen in this race at serious risk with just 3 laps to go of going from in to out very quickly here.
Well, Dawson, as you mentioned that, and of course, Merck diving to the bottom, almost actually near identical to what Corey Wright did earlier, and it did not work out so great for Wright. But I got to say, you're talking about the haymakers we're seeing. As we've been sitting here under caution, I've been thinking, for some of these guys, I might go back to my original analogy type of deal. I believe some of these guys are worried about the top 3. And why do I say that? You're taking a top 24, and that will determine the top 24. I'm beginning to think some of these guys, they believe that they're capable of making the main event. The question is now, you want to be a part of the top 3 for, who knows, track position is the one that comes to mind. So we're seeing a lot of haymakers for the lead in the top 3. Maybe some are thinking about tomorrow night's top 24. Dawson, take it away, because she is about to get, the lid's about to blow off here.
3 laps to go in Heat 7. Kyler Wynn and Matthew Zwack back to the Simrat Market restart zone. Is this the last restart of the night? Let's find out. Green flag outside goes. Bottom's connected, but it did not go at all. Top 2 cars clear. Almost 3 cars clear. It's out back. They start to bail. Lebaugh out of line. Couple of cars stride 3 wide back around DJ Thomas. They're the first cars to move. Ray goes top to bottom. He'll go to the inside of Kenny Reel, but he's got 2 car lengths to wait on the help from Zwack, but that will line up a few of those nightmare teammates on the bottom as out back Jones and Nagels, amongst others, try to bully their way to the middle line.
And right now, Jones and Nagels on the outside looking in. Nagels 13th. Just a second ago, trying to race his way to an LCQ contact between Tanhart. They're wrecking in the back. Big crash. Mark Mooney involved. Caution,
yeah, several cars involved, and they're still crashing. Multiple cars come to a stop here. Cars trying to dive out of the way as a second crash broke off in front of the initial incident. Tanhart is in this amongst others. Goldman, Kapinski, Moody, Blasdell, Hackett, Aaron Smith, amongst some other cars, getting a piece of this one towards the tail end. Tanhart is involved as well in the 81 after he just took his fast repair a moment ago as well. He appears to be okay. But for a number of other cars, not so lucky on this one. And that will send Heat 7 to overtime as well. So we still have not had a race end in regulation to this point. Now some contact under caution. Leebaugh, a couple of other cars come together. Giusti, as the field checked up behind the pace car, but no harm, no foul, it seems, on that. We'll go back and see what caused the caution. It was back around Leebaugh and Hackett. Hackett, you wonder if he's thinking about 4 wide here as he gets to Leebaugh. This is going to be an offset push. But actually, really, it's 2 wrecks starting at once. See the contact out back with Tanhart, and then the contact up further with Hackett and Leebaugh. So this is kind of 2 incidents kicking off at once. And Hackett comes back down, man, nowhere for Mark Moody to go. It almost looked like there was a target on the back of the 111 there. Tanhart gets a hit, nowhere for Lingle to go as cars try to keep from blinking out there. That was the Gopinski car, and multiple others. Lingle's in it. There's a hit to the outside wall. Couldn't tell which car that was that got up against the outside retaining wall a little further up. But a couple of other cars involved. Gopinski spins Nanny. A couple of other cars trying to bail to the apron. Looks like Aaron Smith and Nate Blasdell just kind of jumped to the apron to get away from this. But the cars involved, especially for Moody and Goldman and Hackett and a couple of others, they were just involved in one a moment ago, and bad turns to worse as we head to overtime.
Well, for Goldman, it was a meatball flag. So right now, as we see, still a meatball. So I am going to assume that after an amazing run earlier on for James Goldman, for right now, the night and the hopes of advancing to Saturday or Sunday will be over for James Goldman. But we're going to overtime. Right now, looking at it, Jeff Merck, Cody Nagels on the cut line. Merck 11th, Cody Nagels will be 12th, but Dylan Jones 13th, Tanhart 16th, Andrew Santos, who what looked like was going to be night over with, is up to 18th. I will throw in another dark horse in Danny Barnes 19th. 2 laps, and we've seen before this week and this week that really one wreck on a green-white checkered can change the whole complexion of what Saturday and Sunday is going to look like. And Dawson, I'll let you take it back over with this statement. You look at the top 3 right now. They have been at the front this entire race. I'll throw in Eckert as well. But as you have famously said, this broadcast, it is never over until it is over. Right now, it might be a Jack Shack 1, 2, 3, but I got to say there will be some guys who are going to try to take them 3 spots away from them 3 individuals.
Well, and my mind takes me back to Caden Diedrich just a moment ago, Craig Jancic, Alex Hill, Chase Mastretta, Nathan Harper. And what we've seen drive after drive this week of guys that were at the back of the field, even on the last restart, and managed to be in a spot to transfer by the time we came off turn 4 and took the checkered flag. So, again, and you just noted that this race is not over until the field comes across the checkered flag, and even then, it still might not be over. Again, we've seen a couple of post-race EOL penalties given out in this week as well. So, last night, for example, Wyatt Gray EOL'd after the race. Alex Coffey leaves the racetrack thinking he's out. And 5 minutes later, he's informed, no, you've actually finished 12th. You're in, your run continues. So even after the checkered flag, at some points, if this race gets chaotic enough on this last restart, it could very well not be over for those drivers either. To the choose one more time in this 7th heat race. Again, we'll preface the overtime rules. 1 green-white checkered attempt and only 1 here in heat race number 7. This race will finish right here. No caution will be thrown for the final 2 laps of this race. It will finish under green. Any incidents are subject to a post-race review, which we've seen utilized a couple of times already this week. But it will finish right here. There are no second attempts, no cautions freezing the field. This race is going to finish right here under the green flag. Kyler Wynn, Mark Person, Kenny Reel, hold serve. They all took the top. Winkler, Hobart joined them. First guy to take the bottom is Devin Ray. Anton Poliakov goes down there. Corey Wright goes down there. Dylan Jones goes down there. Cody Nagels goes down there. David Giusti further back. So some guys taking some track position, trying to get into a transfer spot. The guys that are currently in transfer spots as they're scored: Wynn, Ray, Person, Poliakov, Reel, Wright, Winkler, Nagels, Hobart, Jones, Zwack, and Giusti. 3 of those cars make the feature. The next 9 race in last chance qualifier number 2 tomorrow night at 7:30. Cars currently scored out that would not make the next step. And there's some big names in this: Ethan Eckert, Jeff Merck, Alex Lebaugh, Andrew Zanto, Dale Tanhart, Danny Barnes, Aaron Smith, DJ Thomas, Sean Kapinski, one of the Heat sponsors, amongst others that are laps down. An unbelievable amount of the big names in this field are now in complete and total desperation as we get ready to go back green.
Folks, I'm going to say this. This heat has lived up to everything it was hyped up for. Whatever you do, do not touch that dial. Don't care about the Fox News right now. You're about to watch the biggest stacked field try to settle this one here, and who goes to Saturday and who does not. Dawson, take it away, buddy. It's about to get good.
Kyler Wynn on the outside. The Jack Shacks run nearly flawless in this race, but only 3 spots available. Green flag in the air, and the outside gets a monster roll. The Jack Shack cars go. Winkler does trouble. Poliakov, Wright, Ray, the field flies apart. Eckert's involved. Nagels is involved. The biggest names in the SummerSlam field are out of it here to turn 1 as the field continues to fly apart. Unreal stuff. We'll sort that out in a minute, but only 6 cars have escaped in the lead draft, and only what I can see is about 14 have escaped at all.
Well, I'll be damned. God almighty. Well, for some big names, that might end it right there, but right now the battle at the front. Right now, Kyler Wynn, Mark Person pushing, Devin Ray, and Matthew Zwack on the bottom lane, but right now it is 2 versus 4 of the Jack Shack. As right now the 2 nightmare cars side by side, got to get back together, but because right now the Jack Shack pulling a Ray, Kyler Wynn sees the right flag this time.
Well, now how do you sort this out if you're the Jack Shack cars? Only 3 spots in the feature, and all 4 of your team cars are here. How does this work out? Do any of them dare turn out a line and go for the win themselves? More cars coming out back. Ray, Zwack, and Nanny have a run behind the leaders. These guys are going to have to go if they want to go here into 3. Devin Rates for sure is going to take the run to the bottom. Here's Devin Ray. Zwack, Nanny go to the bottom. Reel down to side trap, but the run is too big. Wynn throws the block. Ray to the bottom. Nightmare 1-2 all of a sudden off of turn 4. They'll drag race for it in the tri-oval. Final time in heat 7. Push is seeming to be better up top. Does Mark Person go for it himself? He doesn't. He stays in line. Flawless from the Jack Shack. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4 for Wynn, Person, Reel, and Jeff Merck.
Well, that finish, I got to say, I'm stunned. I am completely stunned on the restart, but I am not surprised with a Jack Shack 1, 2, 3 as Kyler Wynn, and I guess somebody here could kind of quote me on this, or matter of fact, I got it right here. Right now, Kyler Wynn will lead 29 laps out of this heat to go on to tomorrow night's top 24, and I've got to say, I know we've been hyping up Malik Ray in the 3-peat for practically since the start of July. But right now, what I saw out of this 82 machine, I believe Kyler Wynn may be poised to go to Sunday and take a SummerSlam 499 win for the Jack Shack.
Yeah, we got a lot to sort out in the results after this. We are going to have to do some waiting on the official results after that crash on the initial restart. So we'll await the word from race control. I'll tell you one thing's official, and it's the win for the driver of the 82, and a dominant one at that. They're going to do a triple burnout. I would not be surprised if all 4 of those cars come to the front stretch to do a burnout, because you want to talk about a well-coordinated, well-executed team effort in this race. All 4 of those cars ran nearly flawless, and 4 of the 5 that were in this heat managed to advance, and they do it in 1, 2, 3, 4 fashion. A great effort for the drivers driving under the banner for the Jack Shack tonight. and they all make it to the feature or to LCQ2. That's where Jeff Merck will be towards the front of that field tomorrow night. As the burnouts are completed, they're actually going to do a tandem burnout here on the front stretch. And what better time to get a quick word with our race winner in Kyler Wynn. And my partner Jim Bob stands by with the winner of Heat 7 in Kyler.
Well, Kyler, buddy, 29. Out of the overtime laps provided tonight, I got to say the Jack Shack, at least in this heat, looked like they were on the same page, walk us through the night, and really, Jess, what went into this heat? It was the most stacked one on the card. It was the most highly anticipated one on the card, and you're able to lead the most laps out of all of it. Walk us through the night.
Yeah, 29 is pretty cool, eh? It's not often you lead that much of a super speed race, especially with this caliber of drivers in the field. So definitely proud of that. And I couldn't do it without the Jack Shack. That just great communication all night long. I feel like I don't think we made a wrong move tonight. Every move was perfect. You know, sometimes we hung a driver out, but that'll happen in this car, especially when you have four of us lined up like that. But it came down to a 1, 2, 3, 4 at the line. So does it really matter? Not really.
Well, buddy, I'll ask you this last question. I'll let Dawson ask his questions. I may be going out on a limb here, but right before you join, I got to say the 82 looked fast tonight. I know it was mostly a team effort, but what you could do with that 82 machine and how it could stay at the front and honestly look like it was on a rail. I got to say, walking into Sunday, I'm calling one of my very many shots that I have to call. Do you feel like this 82 is going to be enough to derail the three-peat from Elite Ray? And do you feel like this 82 can win the SummerSlam come Sunday?
Well, oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I have so much confidence right now. I love this car. I think I've done a ton of racing the past month in it through various money races. So I know it very well now to this point. And as for Malik, as you know, he's a very close friend and a good teammate. We work very well together. So I'm sure at least one of us will be there towards the end. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm definitely going to go for it. I'm not going to say I'm not, but yeah.
Dawson?
Well, Kyler, obviously after last year, you led laps on Sunday. You won a bunch of races in the week leading up to last year's SummerSlam 499, but the race itself ended up kind of going awry in the middle stages where it almost felt like a missed opportunity to get a crown jewel victory under your belt. You've won about all there is to win, especially on the super speedway side of things. A crown jewel is one of those things that's left. Does this year feel a little bit like avenging last year's race? Do you treat them completely separately? Just kind of take me through, the mindset leading up to the race, especially now that you've locked into it.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to Sunday. I don't know about avenging. It was pretty unfortunate what happened to me last year. I think I got taken out halfway through the race and blew a motor. Really out of my control. It was just an unfortunate scenario. But yeah, I definitely want a crown jewel win here, especially in PGR. That would mean so much to me on my super speedway resume. This is one of the most competitive super speedway leagues there is, so winning it would be special. And I like my chances. So we'll see. I'm excited.
One of the longest tenured drivers in super speedway racing and in PGR competition. You're now one of the first drivers to lock in to the feature for Sunday. Before we let you go and get prepped, not only for tomorrow night's top 24 race, but for 499 miles on Sunday, any thank yous or shout outs you'd like to give?
Shout out to the Jack Shack factory setups on the car as usual. Shout out to the whole production team, Dawson, Jim Bob, and everybody else behind the scenes who makes this possible. You guys do a great job with this broadcast. I appreciate that. Shout out to Mike for Mike and Baker. They put a lot of effort into this, and they make this possible. So huge shout out to them.
Kyler, thanks for the time. Congratulations on the win here in Heat 7. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. We'll see you tomorrow night for the top 24 shootout, and then we'll see you Sunday afternoon for the SummerSlam 499.
Yeah, see ya.
How about it for Kyler Wynn, the driver for the Jack Shack? And we still have not gotten official confirmation. We're waiting on race control here to let us know as to whether or not the top 12 is official. So in the meantime, as we get ready to go to heat race number 8, we'll tell you the unofficial results. And we're going to get into this in a second, Jim Bob, but there are some huge names that are going to miss out on this year's SummerSlam 499 because of the incident that happened just past the start-finish line on the final restart. Kyler Wynn's win is official. Mark Person and Kenny Reel surely have the top 3 spots locked up. Jeff Merck finishes 4th in a 1-2-3-4 for the Jack Shack tonight. Devin Ray goes 5th. Daniel Nanny goes 6th. A great comeback drive for him. Matthew Zwack, we saw a lot of him at the beginning. It did not go well towards the middle stages, but he manages to recover and get through the chaos, and sometimes that's all that matters. In the 7th spot, he'll have another opportunity and a crown jewel this weekend as well. DJ Thomas was crashed with 3 laps to go and drives all the way to 8th through that chaos. He survives to make to the LCQ tomorrow night. So does David Giusti in 9th. Aaron Smith finishes 10th. Andrew Zanto blew an engine on lap 10 and recovers to finish 11th. And how about the effort for Danny Barnes, one of the super speedway veterans? He'll race tomorrow as well in 12th. We are getting word now the top 12 is locked in and official. Nate Glasdell finishes 13th. Conan Mickey in 14th. First 2 drivers eliminated. And then we get to some of the big names. Dylan Jones out in 15th, one of the Nightmare eSports cars. We expected him to be in. He will not race Sunday. Hunter Winkler will not either in 16th. Dale Tanhart eliminated in 17th, with Austin Hobart finishing in the 18th spot. 19th, Anton Poliakov. He was one of the cars that sparked up that incident at the front end of that restart. He'll finish 19th to be eliminated. Corey Wright is eliminated in the 20th spot. One of the drivers for the Jack Shack, Mark Moody, is out. Alex Lebaugh is out in 22nd. Cody Nagels is out in 23rd, and so is Ethan Eckert in 24th. And that's arguably 2 of the favorites coming into the week, both involved in that last lap incident and involved in the crash enough that they could not drive away. They'll finish 23rd and 24th. Sean Gopinski finishes 25th. Carl Lingle in 26th. Cameron Hackett 27th. James Goldman in 28th. Jonathan Carter in 29th. And Talon Drake in 30th. Those cars had issues throughout the night, involved in several incidents. Well, real quick before we get to Heat 8, let's digest this because there are some big names going home here, Jim Bob. And when we talk about some of the favorites in the event, and several of them now will not see Sunday because of that incident with 2 laps to go.
Well, I got to say, very, very rarely am I speechless or near damn speechless, but I am. I'm going to tell you, really embrace my heart for Cody Nagels. I mean, you see the drive he brings to every race he comes into, whether it's PGR, MMS, HGR, JWR. Like, it does not matter what promotion he goes into. You expect that number 6 to be at the front from start to finish. And I got to say, I am gutted for the captain of Nightmare eSports. But I will not take away, it was a hell of a drive out of the 6 tonight. But really, Dawson, I really do not know what to make of some of these. Some feel-good stories going into tomorrow night. Andrew Santos to drive to make the PGR SummerSlam 499 is still alive. He'll have to go through tomorrow to get there. But Danny Barnes, another one of them. But unlike you, I don't know what to make of Eckert being gone, Nagels being gone, Corey Wright, the right track diecast number 4 machine. Bad fast tonight, but his hopes of going to the SummerSlam 499 for 2026 will come to an end in Heat 7.
And some tough breaks there for some big names. Obviously, there is that last chance provisional race coming up later in the event, so we'll have to see which, if any, of those drivers show up in that field later on in the weekend. Of course, there are going to be 25 spots available in that field. We don't know yet exactly what the field makeup is for that race. Some big stories out, but some big stories in. Daniel Nanny, DJ Thomas, David Giusti, Aaron Smith, Zanto, Barnes. I mean, some big names are going to be racing tomorrow with a chance to make the biggest sim racing event of the summer. As much as we talk about the guys eliminated, we should also mention the guys that are in some really wild storylines there from where those guys were in the middle stages or late stages of this race. Before we get going to Heat Race number 8, again, I want to thank our Heat 7 sponsors, Jeff Merck Racing, the Right Track Diecast and Racing, Motor City Diecast and NASCAR memorabilia, and JamSafe for their support of Heat Race number 7. Another short break, and then we'll be right back for the final heat of the SummerSlam 499. It's time to set the final 12 spots in Saturday and Sunday. It's coming up right after this. You won't want to miss heat number 8 The final heat right after this from Talladega. Welcome back one more time to the virtual Talladega Super Speedway in Lincoln, Alabama for the final heat race of the biggest sim racing event of the summer. Heat race number 8 of the SummerSlam 499 presented by PGR eSports. We're already on the grid, so we'll have to make it quick. Before we get going here, quickly, our final heat of the evening supported by Tucker McClendon Racing, a former Tennessee Volunteer. Tucker is an avid member of the iRacing community and now competes as part of Team PGR Apex. Tucker's continued to develop as a competitor, and tonight he looks to take another major step forward and cement his legacy in the 2026 SummerSlam 499. Thank you to Tucker and Tucker McClendon Racing for supporting tonight's 8th and final heat. We've got to jump right on the grid. My broadcast team the same. Our producer Michael Triscaro, our pit reporter Tyler Vickery. Our co-host is Jim Bob, Garrett Jenkins. But let's get to the starters for this 8th and final heat race. The last one, a chaotic finish, results in big names out. I gotta imagine the stomachs are turning for some of the guys in this one. On the pole for heat race number 8, one of the dominant drivers of Speed Weeks back in February. He led over 40 laps in the PGR 500. Stephen Miles will start from pole position here in the Splash and Go Graphics Chevrolet from pole spot. Nick Seipel to his outside the 75, also competitive in that PGR 500 race. He'll start from the outside of the front row here in heat race number 8. Looking back to road number 2, it's the pole sitter for the PGR 500 back in February. He made his debut in February. He'll make another start tonight in this one for the SummerSlam 499. That is James Bomar. Brand new colors aboard that EPI number 20, as he will start towards the front of the field here in the 3rd spot and back in 4th. It'll be the newly rebranded 15 on the card, still the 43 on your timing and scoring. That is Jacob Wilkerson. He led 35 laps in last year's SummerSlam 499 before he blew a motor. He'll try to get the job done tonight from 4th and make a second straight start in this race. Row 3 will feature one of the drivers from the VRX Light Series this past season, Asher Little, in car 01 on the car, 19 on your timing and scoring. Alongside him, the driver for Team Watson Racing Setups and Beast Mode Performance, Brandon Bikey, starts alongside him in the 6th spot. Back on row number 4, it's a super speedway ace, a veteran, a winner at everything he's done, both on the money side and the league side. Logan Helton returns to PGR and will start from position number 7, as the NASCAR Pro will line up alongside Dwayne Drummond in car 41 in the 8th spot. And rounding out the top 10, Bruce Bernard in the Florida Gators Toyota Camry will line up from 9th. It's Matt Patton for Team Dega Pros that goes from position number 10. Back on row 6, Stephen Maggio goes from the 11th spot in the neon yellow and teal 51. Alongside him, another eNASCAR Pro in this 8th and final heat race. He'll get the switch. Remember earlier in the week we told you that Dylan Basin did not make his heat race. He has been switched into this field. He'll start from 12th. Aiden Shrine will start from 13th in the 43. Alongside him, it's Matt Hutchinson in the purple and yellow machine in 14th. Back on row number 8 and starting in the 15th spot, David Pachal in the 42. And alongside him, Joey Allen making another PGR start tonight in heat race number 8. Back on row 9, it's Bryson Tomlinson in the 38 machine alongside one of the stories of the light season last year and a driver in the Venom Truck Series, Kyle Zittel in the Harris 53. Will start from P18, looking to continue his momentum that he built over the course of that light series season. And rounding out the top 20, Keith Haley in the Exalted Chevrolet will start from 19th alongside Harrison Santos in the blue and black number 1. Back on row 11 and starting 21st, Jack Mummert returns to PGR. Remember, he was one of the stories of the 2024 SummerSlam 499. He returns to PGR again this year, trying to make this 3rd annual edition. And Wyatt Blair in a car owned by Wyatt Miller. He'll also have Miller on the box tonight in that 73 in the Shockwave machine on row 11. On row 12, Dustin Cowan returns in the Home Depot colors in the car number 20 in 23rd position. Alongside him, Cody McCormick in the neon pink, yellow, and black 54. We'll start from 24th. Row 13, Dawson Barker in the black and blue number 2 with Twisted Speed aboard that machine. He'll go alongside Cody Reed in the all-pink number 25 from 26th. Row 14, it'll be Max Dinda in the Dude Wipes Chevrolet in car 48. He'll go from 27th, another driver from the Light Series, alongside Isaac Treese in the BSR branded Toyota Camry, who will start from 28th position. A couple of more cars towards the tail end of the field. Only 2 are going to get a start here in this heat. Tucker McClendon and Bobby Rashall, I believe, are going to start here. Rashall may not, although he is on track, so I believe he is in the right heat race this time. A couple of cars you'll see on timing and scoring that are not racing in this race, I don't believe, are the McCormick machine, although he is on pit road, and Thomas Kolmacheski, who has registered as a spotter for his driver, Brandon Bikey. Heat race number 7 had the most chaotic finish of the week so far. Heat number 8 is sure to live up to that. One more heat race to go. Just 12 spots remain in tomorrow's LCQs or Sunday's feature. Reminder of the format: top 3 go not only to the feature on Sunday, but to the top 24 shootout race tomorrow night. 4th through 12th go to the LCQs. Everyone else goes home. For the final time in the heat races, the field into the Simrat Market restart zone. Green flag for the 8th and final heat of the SummerSlam 499. Huge push outside for Steven Miles and the bumper of Nick Seipel. Those two have worked so well together in their careers in PGR, and they continue to do so here on the banking of turns 3 and 4. It's all chalk besides Kyle Zittel, who gets spit out of line off turn 4 for the first time. Top 6 cars back to Patton are clear. Almost trouble. Patton gets spun. The 3 to the apron. It's not going to draw the caution unless he comes back up, as he and Dylan Basin had contact right there.
Well, shocker already for Matthew Patton. Now, black flag probably due to the pit entry, probably get cleared, but already not even one lap in and already a shocker there with Matthew Patton, who now would desperately need a caution as they work 2x2 down the back straightaway. Stephen Miles right now leads over Wilkerson, as right now Seipel, Drummond, and how about Black Guy one of my favorite drivers when it comes to the money racing scene, Joseph Allen, and definitely an underdog / a dark horse in all this. Allen trying to go to Saturday, but I got to say, Dawson, he would love to go to Saturday as a part of the top 24.
Yeah, absolutely. He'd love to go ahead and get on to Saturday night, run for the pole on Sunday, and have that part out of the way. Seipel goes bottom to top. He'll go to the race lead on the bumper of Steven Miles. Those two cars are working together in this race as I expected, although this time Seipel will cover the run in the center of Matt Hutchinson in the Crown Royal Ford Mustang. That allows Dwayne Drummond to go to the lead on the bottom side on the push from Joey Allen. You just talked about him, Jim Bob. Allen goes all the way to the second spot on the inside there as things got a little bit spread out. Miles kind of reeling just a bit on the bumper of Wilkerson. They are all the way back toward the back half of the top 10. Out front, rather, James Bomar makes the move to clean air. The pole sitter of the Great American Sim Race is back to jockey with the big boys again. He's to the front. Hutchinson through the block on him, and Matt Hutchinson goes to the lead, an underdog early in this one on lap 3. He'll go to the push of Bomar. Seipel in the middle with Zittel. Bottom side, Drummond and Joey Allen.
Well, third lane this time, and I don't know if it's just with these particular cars, with these particular drivers in this one, but that third lane now looks to be the best that it has been all night long, as Kyle Zittel, one of them that started deep in the field. Zittel already up to 6th, and right now Hutchinson was going to leave him at turn number 3, but Bumar had other plans. He's going to bring Seipel, Zittel, Dana down to the bottom, along with Asher Little. Bottom lane now is starting to get established as Tucker McClendon trying to pull that middle lane back up. They'll come off of turn number 4, and really, the final 12 drivers are going to be determined here in the Who Goes to Saturday. And right now, Bomar brings him down across the line. He'll put his name on the lap leaderboard.
It's almost as if he did not miss a beat the time he was away from PGR. James Bomar led laps in his heat race, won his heat race back in February, and now leads laps in his heat race in August. Out back the move start. Dinda and Little tried to get all the way up. Dinda's going to go to the wall as Little goes to the center. Dinda back to the center as he plays Pied Piper in the middle lane, further back, about 5 rows deep in the field. It'll allow the top 3 to break away back to Kyle Zittel, who, by the way, remember I said he got spit out of line on the opening lap? He's all the way back up to 3rd, one of the drivers that took the field by storm in the Light Series just a few weeks ago is now looking to make his way into a marquee event. Out back, Wilkerson, a big block to the top side as he tries to get back to the front. Expect him to be aggressive early and often in this race. Miles will go with him. That's 10 rows deep in the field, back around the Brandon Bikey car. Almost 4 wide. Miles got offset for just a moment. I think they got away. No, they did not. Trouble. It's Miles. I think big crash in turn 1. Zittel, multiple other cars, not Zittel, rather, multiple cars pile in. Hutchinson, Bernard, Basin, McClendon, Bikey, Hutchinson, Logan Helton, Shrine, and others come into this one, the big one in turn 1.
And unlike the last 2 heats of the night, this one will come early, and it is going to take some big names with it. Looking at Dylan Basin's machine on my side of things does not look that bad on the number 6, so Basin ought to be able to get back in it ready to go. Blair, I've not seen no meatball flags yet, so some of these guys ought to be able to just come in as we look here, see what happened. And man, Tucker McClendon, it's going to happen up around the McClendon machine. You can see it right there on the screen, buddy. They are gone, and when that happens, all right, right here, it looks like 43 makes contact with McClendon, and then from there, I mean, it is when that 87 goes back up the racetrack, it is going to take some cars with him. unfortunately, it will take a couple big names. And Dawson, I got to say, it may look calm on paper, but these guys are throwing everything they can to try to get in and out of these top 12 spots. And ultimately, this is what you have in Talladega. They don't care about favorites at this point.
Official list of some of the cars involved: McClendon, Hutchinson, Shrine, Helton. Looks like Cowan, perhaps Santos in the 1, perhaps Bikey in the 27, Basin, Blair, Stephen Maggio, Bruce Bernard. A number of big name cars involved in this, and I thought it was Miles that got turned first. There he is in the center. He actually manages to get through this. It was actually Logan Helton in the 42 that went top to bottom spinning onto the apron. I think it did just end up being a spin for him. And in fact, a lot of cars got lucky here. So you see him come back up the racetrack. A lot of cars get lucky here. No meatball flags, and to me that says perhaps no fast repairs here either for the drivers involved. And if that's the case, lucky to say the least, although a few drivers do have some notable front-end damage. Brandon Bikey is one of them coming down pit road, a couple of other cars as well that appear to have some major front-end damage. Wyatt Blair, amongst others. But I think it's all fixable for the drivers coming down pit road right now.
Well, and of course, I look at some of the damage, and just by racing these cars on occasion, very, very rarely do I step outside the broadcast booth, but I'm looking at maybe as well. One car immediately gets his damage fixed. That would be that of Brandon Bikey. Immediately the damage is fixed just like that. So maybe a fast repair for that 27. But the rest of these guys, I'm just estimating or guesstimating here that maybe at best a minute and a half for some less than that. So right now I do believe the majority of the field in this one dodged a massive bullet.
A couple of cars used the fast repair there. You mentioned the Bikey machine in the 27. Cody Reed is the other car that utilizes his fast repair here under this first caution of the night. Everybody else is able to fix damage on pit road and drive away and hold that fast repair in the back pocket for the time being. Reset the field pre-choose. James Bomar continues to lead the way. The pole sitter for the 500, again, looks very comfortable early in this race. Nick Seipel goes second behind him, then Dwayne Drummond in third. Joey Allen in fourth, and Isaac Treese is up to fifth, plus 23 for Treese from 28th to 5th so far. Kyle Zittel is up 12 to 6th. Bryson Tomlinson is up 10 to the 7th spot. Max Dinda is up 19 to 8th. Asher Little's fallen to the 9th spot but stays inside the transfers. Jack Mummert, again, back in PGR, trying the SummerSlam again. He's up to 10th, plus 11 from where he started. Stephen Miles down from the pole to 11th. And David Pachal is up to the 12th spot. Again, some notable names that were just involved or around that caution flag are now outside the transfers looking in. Dylan Basin is amongst those cars. Of course, we mentioned the Bikey machine and the Patton machine that had an issue earlier. Jacob Wilkerson, Logan Helton, Wyatt Blair, Tucker McClendon also included in that contingent of guys outside looking in early in this one. Again, we'll remind you of the choose cone. It will be used all week long in this week's events, and it's used in the heat race again tonight. Drivers will be able to choose their lane for each restart. They have to choose by the start-finish line. They have to declare one lane or the other, and then from there, instead of having a choose cone drawn on the racetrack, which, like in real life, the big orange box, we don't have that on the iRacing scan. So using a bit of an arbitrary marker, the middle A in the word mark Talladega that you see come across the start-finish line that's right in front of it, that is essentially the choose cone arbitrarily this week. If you run over the A, run over the choose cone, you do get a penalty. We saw several in Heat 6 and in Heat 7 to big-name drivers that end up going to the back of the field, and it cost some of them in a big way. Bomar actually is going to maintain the bottom here on this restart. Most of the guys behind him hold serve and go to the top. So Bomar, Drummond will line up first two on the inside, then Treese behind them, then Tomlinson, and then the Jack Mummert machine. Outside will be Seipel, Zittel, Dinda, Little, and Miles. Five guys that all know each other pretty well. It does look like we've got a penalty for hitting the choose cone. I see one car going towards the back of the field. It is the Keith Haley machine in the 0-1. It appears to have gotten the penalty under this caution. He is going to the tail end of the longest line for running over the choose cone. Also, get ready to go back green, Jim Bob. This night has been a little more chaotic, I think, even than the last two nights. Last night was pretty chaotic, but tonight we've turned the wick all the way up to 11 after that 7th heat race.
Well, for these guys, if you kind of want to be technical here, it's the top of the card. And these guys, they knew going on last that all eyes was going to be on them because all the ones who have qualified in the Saturday top 24 or LCQ, they're seeing now who they will be going against. As right now the field into the restart zone, Beaumont and Seipel. Dawson, I'm going to let you take it here, buddy.
James Bomar's looked awful good in his PGR return so far in this heat race, but a long way to go to execute to the end of this one. Just 9 laps in the books, 10 laps on the board into the Simrat Market restart zone. 26 to go. Beaumont, Drummond get going on the bottom, but Seipel matched the punch outside lane. 3 cars connected top faster, and Seipel will nose to the lead up the banking of 1 and 2. 4v4 back to Treese and Little as there's a major fracture in the field back behind Stephen Miles. This field did not get going about 8 rows deep, and it's going to completely split the 2 groups and allow for some big moves out back for guys like Basin and Helton and Patton and others that are in desperate positions now. Seipel to the lead at the end of the Alabama gang. Super stretch to the center comes Max Dinda. He splits out Kyle Zittel, and for the second time in this race, Zittel's going the wrong way fast.
Well, for somebody who took the light series by storm right now, Zittel having a hard time finding allies. As right now, James Beaumont and Nick Seipel continue to be side by side. Drummond and Max Dinda right behind them. Asher Little, Dawson, I'm going to throw it. I got a bunch of dark horses on this list, and I'm going to throw Little out in one of them. I mean, you look at Asher Little, and he has really improved over the last 6 months or so. Just in racecraft alone, and right now, for Asher Little, could you imagine the excitement for him knowing that he could not only be going for a spot in the SummerSlam 499, but also be a part of that top 24, because let's face it, if you're a part of that top 24, you honestly have made a massive career highlight going forward in the SummerSlam week. Right now, Drummond right back to the inside, and Kevin Allen continuing to put on a very impressive run in that 27 machine.
Oh, trouble out back, Jim Bob. It was a stack up that started with Beaumont blinking out mid-pack. Barnard spins off the racetrack, and it's going to draw the caution flag.
Wyatt Blair involved in this. Bernard Jr. involved. Hard to say if Bryson Donaldson gets a piece of this, but God almighty, right back under caution again, and Dawson is just going to bring these guys right back closer. Intensity about to pick up even more, as right now that Wyatt Blair machine does not look too bad. Got damage on the right front. Well, I say that, and that camera angle looked a little bit worse. See if we can see what happens here as Nick Seipel continues to lead. All right, so this happens behind the main pack, it looks like. Oh, no, it happens right in the middle of it. Right here, bit of a stack-up effect, really. Dustin Colwyn and others, and from there, Blair into the back of the 17. And I got to say, Dawson, you've been doing the money racing scene a little bit longer than me. I can't kind of understand unless something happened in front of this field to cause that big of a checkup. What do you see here?
Something did happen. James Beaumont had blinked off the racetrack for just a moment and had stopped up the bottom lane. He's just in front of these guys. He had started to kind of phase into the Santos machine, a couple of others there. You see the stack up start on the bottom because they're bailing out of the way of the reappearing James Beaumont, who just got back on track. Bikey to the bottom, and the memo's going to get all the way back through Bernard. The first car to not get it is Wyatt Blair, and then he turns Bernard sideways. Man, nothing Brandon Bikey could do. Remember, he's taking the fast repair, so he's going to have to fix that damage on pit road. Big hit for Wyatt Blair into the outside wall as well. So it started up front with a connection issue for James Beaumont, and then as such, the field stacked up. As he reappeared, the field had to kind of scramble and give him room to kind of reestablish himself on the racetrack, and it caused the stack up that caused the second caution. Under the caution for the second time inside of 15 laps in to this last heat race of the night and of the event. Nick Seipel continues to lead the way. A good effort for him. And, you mentioned dark horses a moment ago. We'll come back to a couple to add on to Asher Little. I know you mentioned Asher Little. I'll mention a couple more in just a moment. Let's reset the transfer spot running order for you. Nick Seipel, Max Dinda, Asher Little continue to run 1, 2, and 3. Stephen Miles runs 4 with Dwayne Drummond in 5th. Jack Mummert runs in the 6th spot. Great run so far for, again, a guy that impressed in the lead up to the 2024 edition of this race and made the field as a severe underdog. This year, not quite as much of an underdog is the 99. He's been here before, and he's up to the 6th spot. Joey Allen runs in 7th, David Pachal in 8th, Isaac Treese 9th, Harrison Santos 10th, Dylan Basin and Logan Helton back into the transfer spots in 11th and 12th for a pair of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series pros in this race. So you talked about underdogs a second ago, Jim Bob, and I want to get back to this for a second. You mentioned Asher Little. I'll give you another one. And, we're approaching this driver's not in dark horse status anymore because he is able to run up front with some of the big names and against the big teams and even run with a couple of the teams over the course of his PGR career to this point. But throw Nick Seipel in that list as well. And I mentioned him as a name back in February to watch for in the PGR 500. And it did not go exactly according to plan for him in that race. This race, though, with the way the setup is, the way the racing is going to be a little bit more wide open, I think it suits him just a little bit better than the racing we saw back in February. So you say Asher Little, I'll raise you with Nick Seipel as an underdog to watch for as well out of this 8th heat race.
Well, we're sitting here about underdogs. I will say I wouldn't necessarily call him an underdog just because of how he was just running, but James Bomar will be restarting 13th. And, of course, I'm just going to throw this out. And, of course, Tyler Vickery in the booth. But looking at the chat, something about a screen froze as we get set to re-rack it. Tyler, was there any reports on what may have actually happened to Bomar for the blink and all that?
Yeah, usually for some of the situations that happens, there are some occurrences where systems will have like a quick little like glitch in their system where like for some drivers will experience like a screen will completely be frozen, so it's like you can hear the sound of the car still running but yet the screen will be completely frozen on you. And sometimes when that happens for iRacing, the way the servers are, it'll end up like completely having the car disappear. So that's what happened to Bomar, where he experienced a complete like server crash, reconnected real quick because of how quickly some of these servers are, but because of that situation, it froze his car in place until he reappeared, and when he reappeared, popped right in front of another driver and gave a heart attack to a few drivers as well. And I've experienced it firsthand on an older system, and I can tell you, it's not fun. I'm so glad I have a much better system now than before. But even some of the top systems, you will have the same situation.
Dawson, real quick before I hand it back over. Looks like Drummond and Allen maybe. Two drivers are getting EOL, and I just saw on the screen Dwayne Drummond, one of them. So there goes a big name at the front.
It looks like Matt Hutchinson's going to get one, too, for the choose cone violation. So move Drummond off the front row all the way to the back. Man, that's the driver that was running second in this race. They got the first choose cone penalty of this race. So move the 41 back outside of the transfer spots for now. Seipel, Dinda, Little all held serve on the top side. Miles did as well. And then you get to the drivers that wanted to go to the bottom. Jack Mummert's going to take the front row. Joey Allen, Isaac Treese moving forward. And then Basin and Helton and McClendon all come forward on the bottom as well. Second caution cleaned off the speedway. We approach the halfway mark of the 8th and final heat race of the SummerSlam 499. Nick Seipel and Jack Mummert, who is taking his first trip out front of a PGR race since 2 years ago in the SummerSlam qualification process. Green flag back in the air, and welcome back to PGR, says Nick Seipel, as he beats Mummert to the punch and draws 4 cars clear back to turn 1 all the way to Stephen Miles, and Mummert's getting bailed on here in turn 1. His help is bailing out of line as well.
Well, about the best restart really anybody could ask for, especially if you're in the top 4 as Seipel, Danda, Little, and Miles. Works down the back straightaway, practically single filed out for the moment. Couple cars, Dyson, 4 back to 10th spot on back. As right now, Joseph Allen, Bazin, all trying to get that bottom lane. Hilton in the mix as well. coming for that lead, and Joseph Allen, like I think it was shot out of a cannon, goes up to the third spot. Seipel sees it. Seipel back down in front of Allen. Immediately switches back, and of course, Dawson will see guys. Some excel at this better than others, but there are just some drivers who can really work the lane control better than others.
And Seipel's one of them. In his young PGR career, he's been one of the best at going top to bottom, knowing where the runs are coming from. He's gotten to run with some of the best, and I think that's where that comes in. He's learned a lot from some of the best in the series, and is running up front because of it. Out back, Dylan Basin was having some connection issues just a moment ago. It caused that bottom line to slow up a little bit, as were a couple of cars on the top lane as well. So things get back sorted out after a couple of those connection issues. Now Basin's kicked out of line here into turn 3 as the offset push will send Dylan Basin working back again. The driver for RFK in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series will go all the way to the tail end of the lead pack. Now he's got some laps to go to get this recovered, but for now, not in the ideal spot that he wants to be in. Bottom lane's got a new leader. Stephen Miles in the 24 leads the charge up the bottom lane. He's got McCormick with him. A couple of other cars jumping in line behind them. Aiden Shrine, I think, is in that line. Matt Patton's in that line. A couple of other cars. Joey Allen's still down there. Helton's still down there. McClendon as well, as the Miles car goes all the way to the lead. So Stephen Miles taking his first turn out front of this heat race since starting up at the front of the field. Out back, the moves are getting bigger. Bomar, Zittel, Wilkerson have all made big moves the last couple laps. Now here's one from Mummert. He'll look 3 wide at the banking of turn 3 as Bomar will be his push. The 500 pole sitter trying to make his run back to the front.
Now you're seeing a complete different switch from what we saw earlier in the race. Third lane now ain't got nothing really for the middle lane. The bottom lane slowly starting to come around. I'm going to throw one out there. Matthew Patton on lap 1 gets turned while battling for the lead. Patton right back into it in the Dega Pro's entry. As right now, it'll be Stephen Miles, and we've been talking about dark horses. I'll give you a legitimate favorite so long as nothing happens, but we saw the week before the PGR SummerSlam 499 week, and then, of course, on Tuesday for MMS Rumble, Stephen Miles able to win that race in what Dawson, I will say, looked like another one of them cars that was very capable of making a statement come Sunday. And of course, over the time, we expect nothing less for Stephen Miles to be up here and competing for wins, and ultimately competing for another crown jewel win. Well, I believe his first after all. Led 60 laps in the 500 if I've got that right. So right now, Miles showing that he can be one of the favorites again.
There's something about these big race lead-ups for Stephen Miles. He just hits into another gear leading into these marquee events. He was so good in Speed Weeks back in February, was one of the dominant cars the early stages, right, really all stages of the PGR 500. And although he did not go to victory lane, he certainly put himself on the map to be a favorite here in August. Oh man, Matt Patton and Max Dyna, that was close. Mid-packer towards the front as they both went for the same piece of real estate. Patton wins out in that. He'll be leading the middle lane, now be third in the middle lane behind Miles and Seipel. Dyna relegated to the top with Little. They've got Mummert, Zittel, Helton, Bernard up there with them. Bottom side is McCormick, followed by Shrine, followed by Treese, followed by Allen, and now Bomar, sixth in the nose in the middle. The 20 for EPI will take Paychal with him. Bomar back in clean air as he's back to the front of the field as well. Now he needs a little bit better push or a toe from up front. He'll get that here on the end of turn 2, so he'll get a nice little drop pull off the corner, but he needs a little bit more organization behind him. McClendon, Basin, Bikey all in that center lane trying to make it go, but it's all Seipel and Miles back to turn 3.
And it's going to be hard to really knock them two off the top spot. Well, I say that, and there goes Miles. Right down to the bottom. He's going to block McCormick now and really try to pull that third lane up, and just like that, make it look easy. To the lead momentarily, Seipel swings out of line. He'll go with Danda again. Patton hooked up to the back bumper of Stephen Miles. Bomar back into the mix as well. So really, 4 wide further back, and you still have roughly 29 drivers trying to go for 12 spots, and there they go, wrecking in the back, big time.
Yeah, this one got started as they crash out back. McClendon, Santos, Paychal. There's actually another car up ahead of them, I think, that's crashed as well in this. We'll get an idea of who that is. It's spun up in the turn 2 area of the racetrack, but nonetheless, This got started with another connection issue, similar to Bomar a second ago. Matt Patton blinked for a solid 10 seconds, and when he came back, he was phased into the bumper of Steven Miles, not once, not twice, but 3 times, trying to reset in that center lane. They just could not get it to reconnect, and in the stack up behind them, it was chaos and some big hits in this one, including the Heat sponsor, Tucker McClendon.
Well, Tucker McClendon's night from hell continues, and unfortunately for him, it could not have came at a worse time than trying to make the biggest race of the summer. You see right there, there's the contact. And McClendon, nowhere he can go. I'll tell you, Joseph Allen, he got away with one here. But look at that 42 up in the air. Tell me these guys do not hit hard. They're seeing more net code as McClendon inside the 1. And I'm going to tell you, the stakes cannot be higher right now for these guys in this last heat. And I know some drivers can't really help it, but we're seeing more net-coded internet issues in this heat than what we have the last 2 days in the heats prior.
Yeah, that's what I was just kind of wondering, and I've been talking with some drivers about that between these races, and wondering about what is causing so many of these issues, because blinking, connection issues, technical issues, it's not a new thing to the iRacing service. It's entirely virtual. It's entirely based on each user's internet connection and the connection of the cars around each other as well. So that's not abnormal. We see that every week in these races, but it feels like the frequency of them in these heat races has been higher than normal. And just tonight now, back-to-back cautions caused by cars blinking off the racetrack. Patton last time and Bomar the first time. And, even under caution here, I'm sitting here watching cars blink in and out under the caution flag. And, it's been guys throughout the week as well that you just, don't usually see have those kinds of issues. I've heard about drivers in earlier heats having similar issues. We heard Tyler talk a little bit about it last time where the screen freezes up. Nathan Harper had that issue too. He's not usually a guy that has the technical problems. So I'm not sure what it is, if it's the track, if it's the car. Some kind of oddity is going on this week. It's causing some serious technical issues. And for a couple of the drivers in this field, it's resulted in crashes for Bomar and for Patton. There's nothing you can do about it. But at the same time, it's now caused several drivers between the last heat and this one to be in seriously rough positions late in this heat race.
Well, at the front, right now, Nick Seipel, who between him and Stephen Miles, they have both led. Well, Stephen Miles actually led 4 laps so far tonight, but Nick Seipel has led the way at 13. The only other one closest to him would be James Bomar, who is 13th at the moment, who has only led 6 laps. So, right now, we've already seen Calvin Wynn dominate one heat race, go on to win, but we've seen guys who have dominated heat races, but either A, fall short of the top 24 and or just fall short entirely, and 3 strikes you're out type of deal. So with these races, even though there are dominant cars, it's really hard in most cases for a dominant car to seal the deal tonight, because I look at it, I see McCormick still in the top 5, Mermit in the top 5, Stephen Miles, Miles is going to be back in the top 5 and really going for that top 3 spot for too much longer. Kyle Zittel in the top 10, Patton and Helton. So Dawson got a lot of guys that is looking to knock Nick Seipel off that top spot. So as they get ready for the choose cone here, it's going to be interesting to see how they play this one.
Yeah, and you mentioned, dominant cars being hard to kind of close the deal. And I think the important thing for the dominant cars that have finished off a win in a heat race, the important factor they've had that, other guys that have dominated these heat races haven't had is teammates. And the 2 examples that I keep going back to are the 4 Jack Shack cars in the last heat race in Heat 7 and the 3 that were earlier on in the week in Heat 2 back on Wednesday with Flanagan and Melikar. And they had one other car in that race. I, for the life of me, cannot remember which car that was for the Jack Shack. But they had 3 cars in that race that were, again, equally as dominant in terms of controlling the flow of that race. Matthew David Wood was the third car in that race. Sorry about that. But, in that race, they had teammates. In the last race, the Jack Shack had teammates. The dominant cars in other heats, you can be as dominant as you want. If you don't have teammates to line up behind you, we've seen the runs be so big, one car cannot cover them by themselves. That's been the big X factor. And, for a couple of these cars that have won these heats this week that had teammates, it turns out to be a big benefit. After the choose, Seipel holds serve, Dinda, Little, both hold serve as well. Jack Mummert goes to the inside of the front row. Aiden Shrine to the inside. Kyle Zittel, Logan Helton, Cody Reed all go to the bottom here. So a couple of cars looking for track position, including Logan Helton. And I'll be honest, I did not expect Helton to be quite this quiet in the early stages of this race. He got involved in the incident earlier on the front straightaway, but even after that, has not yet made his way to the front. He'll be as far up as we've seen him be for the most part in this race so far here with a 7th place starting spot on this restart. But I expected he and Dylan Basin to make some noise in this heat race, and neither has really had an opportunity to do so. So the last couple cars, again, Patton and Bernard, the last two spots in the transfers right now. Wilkerson, as of now, is out. Bomar, Basin, Wyatt Blair. We saw Hutchinson up front early, McClendon, Bikey, amongst others, all out as of right now, and the laps are starting to wind down. In fact, just 11 laps to go. Seipel, Mummert to the Simrat Market restart zone. Green flag, outside goes. Bottom again with Mummert. He went better that time, but he doesn't really go. But there is going to be a wide open gap for he, Shrine, and Zittel to jump up in front of Cody McCormick. They got real lucky there after the bottom did not go on the restart.
Well, right now, it all just going to depend now to what Murdoch wants to do here as they work down the back straightaway. He's going to blend in line. I actually thought he'd get a bigger run than what he did. Meanwhile, talk about big runs. Here comes Stephen Miles on the outside. Has no choice but to push the 99. Patty right now, right behind him, working into the top 5 spot. 4 wide. It's time. It's time now. Cody Reed storming up through the middle lane. He's bringing the 42 with him. And right now, you mentioned it, 9 to go. It's time to get busy, time to get inside that top 12. Dylan Bazin restarted 16th, and he's already back up into the mix.
Yeah, no surprise, the driver for RFK and a former PGR Series champion a year or so ago manages to get all the way back into the fray here at the front of the field in car number 6. That's the Build Submarines car on the inside, third in line. Cody Reed vaults all the way to the lead on the push from Logan Helton. Helton and Basin, I just talked about that they need to make some noise, and they do it here on this restart as they go all the way to the front. Seipel and Dinda continue to run the top side with Asher Little and Jack Mummert. Further back, Miles, Wilkerson, Bomar, Patton are going to line up outside of the racetrack and try to make a run all the way to the front. McClendon, Zittel are both in that line. Little throws it to the wall to block Mummert. Dinda throws it to the wall to block Little. Seipel is left all by his lonesome in the center as Cody Reed will sweep to the lead and go across the nose of Dinda, but he'll get kicked right back out of line, back down to the help of Logan Helton. He'll stay in the middle, actually, with Seipel instead of going all the way down. That's where the run is. Reed through the center. Miles jumps in line in the center, about 7 cars deep in a big-time move. Seipel got awful lucky there that Cody Reed decides to pull down and tow that middle line along.
Well, really, I don't think Cody really planned on going down there, but he tried to shut the door on Max Danda, and Danda said no, sir, but in the same breath, it actually hurt that 48, and it hurt that third lane. To now, they're going to go back to somewhere, I'll guess, around the 14, 15, even the 16th spot on back. So, talk about it was a break for Seipel. It was also a big break for Cody Reed, as now that break's about to end. Reed up in front of 43. And now you're going to see these guys, they're not waiting much longer. You can already tell they're getting antsy. I'll raise you another one on a dark horse. Dustin Cohen has worked inside the top 5 in that Tony Stewart Home Depot number 20 as they work down the back straightaway, 3 wide, about mid-pack surrounding that 12th spot.
My goodness, Stephen Miles left to right, back to the left, back to the right, weaving through the field, and big trouble. Cars hard in the outside wall. Wilkerson almost up and over. Asher Little, Kyle Zittel, James Bomar, huge names involved in this one. McClendon's hood is up against the windshield. Another big incident in turn 4.
What a bad hit for Kyle Zittel. And arguably, You said it, one of them who took the Light Series by storm. Unfortunately, this may spell the end of his hopes for a PGR 5 or PGR SummerSlam 499 event is right there. It just looks like everybody, from my perspective, everybody going to the bottom and it just accordions way too quickly for anybody to react. And good God almighty, Asher Little for one of the wildest rides in recent memory at virtual Talladega, up and into the catch fence and rides on top of Kyle Zittle. Looks like something out of Cars.
Yeah, look at this angle from Zittle. He can't see anything.
Great.
Typically, it's not an ideal spot to be in at Talladega, to be facing the underside of a car. And man, for Zittle, you know, you've used the term night from hell, and Zittle, I think, is in that position now in car 53. Cannot get anybody to work with him, and because of that, he's towards the mid-pack. And then this happens in front of him. Look at this on board here as he gets turned up and ends up with a car up on top of him.
Well, I'm pretty sure that was not on his bingo cards for tonight. Lord knows it wasn't on mine to see that, but this is what you get. And, of course, and I honestly do not think that the last two heats really do justice on how these guys now are starting to feel the pressure. Now, you see here, this was 5 laps in. Everybody, you know, Patton and Miles, they might stay in the middle. They might push Cody Reed. This is the point now. All bets are off. Like, sorry, buddy. I'll buy you a coffee on Monday or something other like that. Like, now it's go time. These are guys, we got $2,000 on the line come Sunday. These guys are wanting to be a part of that. Lord knows if my wheel didn't mess up, I would want to be a part of it. But I'm telling you, this is what the heat races have brought. And it has not gone unnoticed just how hard it is just to be a part of Saturday. And then you take tomorrow, and now you got to go from all them drivers down to the 40-car field for a SummerSlam. Dawson, this is exactly what we pictured it being, technically.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, chaos in these heat races has been a story of every marquee event, and that's PGR or otherwise. There are drivers that you would expect to advance on paper, that when the racing actually takes place on a super speedway, it's so unpredictable that some of those drivers just don't make it for whatever reason or another, whether it's a crash or just unlucky or a technical issue or what have you. So many things can happen on a super speedway that eliminate you from contention, and that's what it's done for several drivers, even just tonight. I mean, we talked about from Heat 7, the guys that are going home. If you missed that one, Cody Nagels, Ethan Eckert, amongst the names not moving on. I mean, from earlier in the week, Daniel Falkingham eliminated, Michael Guest eliminated. I mean, these were, you know, some of the tip-top drivers in terms of PGR statistics, in terms of, iRacing service statistics and status for who these guys are coming into this event. And they're not going to be racing on Sunday because of something out of their control, because of the nature of this racing. It's why drivers tend to hate it in a lot of cases. It's why you'll hear drivers say they don't like plate racing. It's why we as fans and broadcasters tend to love it. It's so unpredictable. We just never know which direction the race is going to go, and certainly the heat races tonight have taken an even more chaotic direction than what we've seen. Some updates for you on cars involved in that crash. 4 meatball flags. Tucker McClendon was one. I think he has gone laps down. In fact, he has pulled his car behind the wall, so the hopes of Tucker McClendon are dashed here. Jacob Wilkerson is laps down, at least one. I think he's only one. So for Wilkerson, he's at least maintained an opportunity to get back on the lead lap. If we get one more caution, we'll have to see when we get back green here. I think we're going to go 1 to go on 32. So yeah, we will have 3 to go. Wilkerson's hopes hanging on by a thread, but alive. Kyle Zittle is also 1 lap down to the leaders, as is Asher Little. And that's 3 of the bigger names from this field that are so far behind the 8 ball now. All 3 need a caution, and only 1 is getting their lap back if we do get it, and we'll have a chance on a green-white checkered finish. So for 2 of those guys, their hopes are effectively over. There's just not much that you can do unless something really crazy happens on this restart. We'll re-rack the field for you. Nick Seipel is the leader and has chosen the outside lane. Brandon Vikey will line up alongside him after the choose. On row 2, Cody Reed and Matt Hutchinson. Reed has been up and down in this race. So is Hutchinson. Hutchinson led at one point early in this one. He is 4th now for what could be the final restart. Dawson Barker on the inside of row 3. We've not talked about him much tonight. Dustin Cowan, you talked about him a moment ago, Jim Bob. He'll line up 6th. Behind them, a couple of bigger names in this field, or at least one of them in Dylan Basin on the inside of that row. Stephen Maggio along with him, and then Helton and Dinda round out the top 10. Stephen Miles hanging on to 11th. I mean, he's not guaranteed a spot here. That's a guy I circled as a potential favorite, not only for this heat race, but for the event as a whole. He is hanging on by a thread. Drivers out as of now: Wyatt Blair, Jack Mummert, Joey Allen, who we talked about earlier, James Bomar, Jacob Wilkerson. We talked about Wilkerson, Little, and Zittel, and Patton as well as some of the regulars or names we expected to move on. That's just not how the cookie has crumbled for those guys so far in this race. Potentially one more restart, Jim Bob. The other heat races tonight tell me we may not be done with the chaos just yet.
Oh, hell no. No, we ain't nowhere near done with it. I guarantee you they're going to go all out now, worse than what they have already. But I will say, even though you do have Wilkerson, Little, and Zittel, try saying that 3 times fast, all battling for that free pass, I don't think there'd be enough time unless there's a mishap or a wreck that can kind of be their saving grace. As right now, the field comes down to the SWM restart zone. Dawson, 3 laps to settle it here at Talladega. Take it away.
Seipel got a good jump, but Hutchinson did not, and thus the help's going to be better on the bottom. Dinda through the center. How in the world did he get that run? He sends Stephen Maggio to the outside as they'll be 3 wide up the banking. He'll have help from Stephen Miles, and boy, for Maggio, he's writing that one down in the notebook if he gets a chance to repay the favor on Dinda right here on this last restart. Potentially, he will do so, though he'll have some help from out back from Keith Haley and a couple of others. Seipel runs side by side down the back straightaway. He'll jump to the bottom on the nose of Bikey. The 2E NASCAR drivers out back make a coordinated move. Basin and Helton to the center, and the middle line's got some serious run here to turn 3 as they are triple tandem pushing. They got to set up for the push on Cowan. That was almost disaster. They were way offset. Off turn 4, one car to the apron going towards the back. He's actually going to come to pit road, and that's Cody McCormick for a black flag for the 54 at the line. 2 to go as Dinda splits Helton further back.
Well, they're fighting. They're trying to make it happen now. Now you wonder, this offense or defense? Well, here comes Dinda again with another run up the middle. One car down to the bottom of 17. Able to save it barely. Trying to blend back in line, but he's going to lose a crap ton of positions as they work down the back straightaway. And it's still Seipel, Reed, Dinda, Hutchinson, your top 4. Dinda looks to the outside. We got a wreck in the back.
It's Matt Patton into the wall, and they're going to crash again. Santos is involved in this as he goes into the outside wall a ton, and a couple of other cars piling in as well towards the tail of the field. Joey Allen is one of them. A tough break for that car, but it was Matt Patton, the first one that got around Bryson. Tomlinson is involved in this, and with this race going to overtime, all 8 heat races will use the extra overtime attempt. Let's maximize the chaos in these heat race events. Matt Patton was the first car I saw get out of line about 10 to 12 rows deep in the field, and then from there it looked to be just a couple of cars coming in with nowhere to go, and down the back straightaway, oh man, contact there. Santos to Zittel, and they go up to Patton and Maggio, and nowhere for Patton to go, so he's actually going to kick back to the right. This is a helpless feeling as a driver to go back across the field with cars bearing down. Jack Mummert gets a piece, James Bomar gets a piece, Tomlinson, Allen, and there's a couple others that come in as well. Man, there's another car down on the inside that gets a piece. This ends up being 7, 8, 9 cars involved.
Really, all it just boils down to is the fact that when the 3 gets kicked out and he is dead sideways, it doesn't so much put blame on anybody, but everybody now. If you're in that 3rd lane, like the 99 right there of Murmick, and of course Bomar just barely getting through. But right now, right where Pat is at, you see Joseph Allen, you see all them guys, they're thinking he's either going to stay right here in the middle of the track, he's going to bounce off the wall. It's all just guys trying to get out of the way of a wreck, and of course, unintended consequences. In doing so, they end up being a part of this wreck, and it's a bad break for Santos, bad break for Joseph Allen. I mean, what a run that 27 had. What a run for Kyle Zittel as well. I believe he'll get out of this a lot better, but if I'm not mistaken, it'll cancel him being the free pass if he was the free pass. And there it is. Zitto does not get the lucky dog.
Yeah, so Zitto will stay one lap down, as will Little and Wilkerson. So effectively, those three drivers, although they're still on the racetrack, their hopes in this race are effectively over as of right now because of this caution coming out. None of them get the lucky dog. Some cars are on pit road: Patton, Bernard, Haley, Santos, and Mummert. Other cars that have appeared to call it a night, at least effectively, David Pachal and Joey Allen are both calling it an evening here just past the lap 34 mark for those two cars. So now we head into overtime as Nick Seipel leads the field. And before we get back on the green flag for the final time in heat racing, do want to go down one more time trackside to Tyler Vickery. Tyler, you have some updates on some cars in this race. What do you know here before we go green in overtime for the final time?
Yeah, Astra Little ended up getting the lucky dog. Zittle, I know, is a little heartbroken and upset after, I believe there was some kind of contact that happened after the caution. We don't know fully. I know he was a little trying to confuse on the radio, trying to figure out the situation. I know he's upset over that. I feel for him there. The other big thing I was talking with earlier is the two pro drivers of Dylan Basin and Logan Helton, who those guys have had an up and down season in the Coke series, especially with Dylan Basin, who, if people watched the most recent race at Nashville Super Speedway, Dylan Basin was leading the race until a late race caution came out, which would have turned his season around completely. But Dylan's taking it with pride and trying to do whatever he can with that. And I know it's given him a lot of momentum here, trying to see if he can make it into the SummerSlam 499. Same with Helton, as both of those guys are working together, trying to see what they can do and getting themselves up. Bomar has been in the same situation as well with EPI, trying to get some help as well with another driver, as Steven Maggio, who's going to be in front of him as well. Those two drivers for EPI are going to try everything they can as well to work their way up to the front, especially with this one and only green-white checkered.
It's just one overtime attempt. Tonight they'll choose for it right here. You know, interesting you mentioned that about Basin. Of course, you know, if you watch that race this past week, a really tough break for Dylan Basin. And again, you know, that happens in racing, but man, sometimes racing is so unforgiving. And for Dylan Basin, that's the case last week. But to have this unique opportunity to kind of, and yes, I know, obviously, the Coca-Cola iRacing Series, that's his day job, right? That's the job he does every week. But to have an opportunity to come out and almost right the wrongs a little bit, to get a big win and put yourself back on the map and really boost the confidence back up for Dylan Basin, a big opportunity this week to, you know, not completely negate everything that happened at Nashville last week, but a big opportunity to get back on the board in PGR. Of course, he's a former PGR champion in the series, in the weekly series as well, and a multi-time series winner also. So for Dylan Basin, a big opportunity this week. He'll line up here from the 7th position, trying to at least make a trip to Saturday, if not make the run all the way to the 499. Let's reset after the choose. Nick Seipel actually is going to go to the bottom here because he's got some help out back. We'll get to that in a second. Cody Reed will line up to his outside. Row 2 will be Max Dinda and Matt Hutchinson. Row 3 will be Stephen Miles and Aiden Shrine, with Basin and Cowan back on run number 4. That's Dustin Cowan. We talked about him. You heard Tyler talking about Maggio. He's actually behind the Isaac Treese machine. So Treese will line up 9th, Helton will line up 10th, then Maggio will line up in 11th, one of the drivers for EPI. He'll be looking for James Bomar, who is currently outside looking in. Maggio, Bikey currently occupy the final 2 transfers. Blair, Bomar, Patton, amongst others, Asher Little, Mummert, all still out. We know at this point that, you know, Jacob Wilkerson and Kyle Zittle's hopes are essentially dashed here late in this race as they continue to be one lap down to the leaders. It would take multiple cars in front of them crashing on this restart and not being able to make it to the white flag lap. They would not be able to finish the race, and those two would have to finish both laps under green, and even then they would have to hope the scoring was nice to them as well in the final results. Final time will go green in heat racing. All 8 of these heat races have used the 1 overtime attempt. Again, a caution will not fly here. This is it. The final 2 laps of the heat races as the field works into the Simrat Market restart zone. We saw what happened last time. Can they make it clean and green? Let's find out. Green flag back in the air, bottom lane. 3, car steep goes, and a car changes lanes before the start-finish line. That's one of the rules of emphasis this year. Matt Hutchinson in the 90 changed lanes before the start-finish line, and you have to imagine that will get penalized as he goes backwards.
And there it is, just been issued, black flag to Henderson. So, effectively, his hopes of the SummerSlam more than likely dash now. They work down the back straight away. Here comes Cody Reed to the inside, getting pushed by Dylan Bazin. Stifle getting pushed by Danda. Stephen Miles. Henderson no longer in the conversation for the top 12. Right now, they're going to come off of turn 4. Advantage to Nick Seipel as they work down to the front straightaway. Dawson, you're about to get good, buddy.
And through the trial for the final time in heat racing, white flag is up in heat race number 1. Nick Seipel will lead the field back to turn 1. Remember, only 3 spots advance to the feature on Sunday. Big move out back as Dwayne Drummond goes 3 wide, but they can't get connected with he and Patton and Shrine and a couple of others. Off turn 2 for the final time. Reed and Basin with one more run to the bottom, trying to make something happen. Helton's gotten up out back. Remember the Hutchinson car, that's the purple car, 4th in line, is not being scored right now as they work down the back straightaway. Back to turn 3 for the final time. Cowan goes outside with Bikey, crashing out back with Tomlinson.
Boy.
On the inside, here comes Reed, dying to try to cover. He's too late. Reed to the inside, Seipel to block. Off turn 4 for the final time. Keep it together. Helton turns Maggio. Crash in the transfer spots. Bikey, others crash. Uncontested up front. Nick Seipel wins Heat 8, and it's a mess. And who's in, who's out, we have no idea at the line.
My God, you're going to have to call it about that 12th spot. I don't know. For about half a second, Drummond was in, and then Drummond takes one of the most hellacious hits to the outside retaining wall. Right now, unofficially, just on my screen, when it comes back, of course, I don't know how to call it. I really don't. Right now, Matthew Patton scored in 12th. Unofficial.
Yeah, I have that as well. You know, obviously, the win appears to be official, and it's a heck of a try for Nick Seipel. We'll get to talk to him in just a second. And, you know, you argue the top 3 are official. Dylan Basin 4th, Stephen Miles 5th. Again, I think the top 6 or 7. I mean, Hutchinson's not going to finish 7th here. We know that because of the penalty issued with 2 laps to go for going out of lane on the restart. So that would make Harrison Santos unofficially the last car in. But again, there's a lot to be decided because there were about 3 to 4 last lap incidents there in this race that could very well be penalized, and one of them involved Logan Helton. I'm really curious here to see if anything is done about the incident with Helton. So we'll wait on official results. The burnouts are official, though, and for Nick Seipel, we've talked about good runs this week. That's about as good as it gets, about as well executed as that group could have asked for tonight. We know, again, working with or around the Dynda and Miles machines in this race, pretty well executed to perfection as all 3 of those cars at least moved to Saturday. Dynda and Seipel moved to the feature along with Cody Reed. A heck of an underdog story with the all-pink 25. He almost got to the inside of Seipel there off turn 4 and pulled off what would have been a second underdog win. I called Nick Seipel a potential favorite in this race, Jim Bob, and in this heat race, I'll tell you what, I think he puts himself on that list now for sure with a heat race win.
By God, I got to say, if you can make guesses like that, I need you to do my Powerball whenever it comes up. Nick Seipel, Garrett, Jenkins, Dawson, Wise in the booth. You got a copy, buddy? You going to Sunday?
Yes, sir, I do.
Walk us through it. I mean, really, from our vantage point, 75 on rails yet again, like we saw last week, and of course over last weekend. 26 laps led tonight out of the 75 camp. I got to say, where does this put you mentally? As one, you're going against 23 of the best that PGR has to offer tomorrow night for a top 24, let alone going to the SummerSlam 499. How you feeling right now?
I mean, ecstatic. There's nothing you could really ask for better than what we just went out and did.
I'll ask you, the talk of the town earlier in the week, of course, Dawson was there. He knows where I'm going at. The runs would essentially come out of nowhere. This time, it just looked like everybody going for the same real estate. This can be argued as the most wound up heat next to Heat 7 that was ran not all that long ago I got to say, from your vantage point, was it still difficult to point out runs as they were coming, or was it just the aggression was toned up for where you were at?
I mean, it was probably both. The aggression was definitely toned up, especially towards the middle end of those part of the race. But it was so hard to see where the runs were coming from. I mean, it was 3 lanes pushing, 5, 6 cars deep, and sometimes the bottom would roll, sometimes the third would roll, sometimes the middle. It seemed like the middle was the strongest throughout the night, and that's what we were trying to use the whole time. But it was definitely tough. I think we had some up and downs, especially the couple people I was working with. But I mean, nothing better we really could ask for. I got 1, 3, and 5, I believe, and Asher snuck in.
Oh, buddy. Before I turn over to Dawson, I got to say my Pat in line a hell of a job tonight for the 75. Dawson, you got anything for him?
Yeah, Nick, obviously you've now, will have started several of these marquee events in your career in PGR otherwise. And, obviously we don't run 188 laps. We don't run 499 miles every night. It's once in a blue moon that we get to run this long. As a driver, how do you change the mindset? How do you prep for a marathon race rather than a sprint race like we had tonight?
Yeah, it's definitely something you got to think about, and everyone will be thinking about as we get closer to Sunday. I mean, it's just a completely different race. You're going to be a much more tame, more kind of chilled out through most of it for the really. And I mean, I don't know if there's anything you really do. You just got to be ready to kind of survive.
Survives what you did tonight, and more so than that. You lead 26 laps en route to a heat race victory, and you'll race tomorrow for the pole in the top 24 shootout. And of course, you're moving on to Sunday, so regardless of what happens tomorrow, you're going to have a chance at the championship belt. Before we let you go and start the game plan for it, any thank yous or shout outs you'd like to give?
Of course, Mike and Baker for putting this on. They do a great job. You guys are broadcasting. I've been watching it. You guys are doing awesome. And then just people I was working with, that was Miles, that was Dinda, and that was Asher. So thank those guys. I think they all made it into at least the LCQ.
And in fact, they all 4 did, at least unofficially as of right now. Nick, congrats on the heat win. Thanks for your time and talking to us for a second. Good luck tomorrow in the top 24 shootout. We'll see you for that and for 499 miles on Sunday.
Thank you, guys.
Nick Seipel, another dominant effort. Kyler Wynn dominates Heat 7, leads 30 laps. Nick Seipel dominates Heat 8 and leads 26 laps. Let's go through what we know to be the unofficial results as of right now. And again, they're going to be a little bit different than what they are on your screen here, because again, we know actually the penalty has been accounted for here. So this is, as of now, is what we know to be the top 12. We have not heard about any potential race control discipline. If we do hear before the end of tonight's broadcast, we'll pass it along. If not, tomorrow night, we'll give you all of the updates as we get into the last chance qualifiers in the top 24 shootout race. Nick Seipel's win is official. I can tell you that for sure. In the 75 as he gets the victory ahead of Cody Reed. Great run for the 25. I don't think we've talked about it quite enough, how impressive he was at times tonight. He'll finish in the second spot ahead of Max Dinda in third. Those 3 drivers will race tomorrow night for the pole, and then Sunday for 499 miles. Dylan Basin will be the first driver in LCQ number 2, along with Stephen Miles. Isaac Treese goes in 6th. Logan Helton goes in 7th. So last chance qualifier number 2, proving to be just as stacked as the first one. Dawson Barker finishes 8th, an impressive run for him, as well as for Keith Haley in the 9th spot. From a lap down with 2 laps to go to the unofficial 10th finishing position for Nightmare driver Asher Little as he goes 10th in the 0-1. Matt Patton goes 11th. We talked about him having a crash with 2 to go. He also advances in unofficially, and so does Harrison Santos in the 12th spot. Wyatt Blair 1 spot out in 13th, at least for now. Cody McCormick in 14th. Bobby Rashal in 15th. Dwayne Drummond in 16th. Bryson Tomlinson in 17th, and Aiden Shrine back in the 18th spot. Working back through the rest of the field of guys that unfortunately will see their runs come to an end tonight in this one. Bruce Bernard goes in the 19th spot with Brandon Bikey in 20th. Matt Hutchinson was 3rd on the restart, but committed the restart violation and will unfortunately finish 21st after serving his penalty. Stephen Maggio finishes 22nd. It's not going to be 2 in a row for James Bomar, as he is unable to make the race this time around. He's eliminated in 23rd. So too is Dustin Cowan in 24th. A guy I looked forward to seeing in this event, Jacob Wilkerson, will go home in 25th. Never able to get back onto the lead lap, unfortunately, for a guy that led so many laps last year. He'll have to wait at least another year to get into the SummerSlam once again. So too will Jack Mummer in 26th. Kyle Zittel in 27th. Joey Allen 28th. David Pachal in 29th. And unfortunately for Tucker McClendon, the Heat sponsor, it goes awry late for him as well in 30th. So again, as of now, that's unofficial. We don't yet know anything. So as of now, if anything changes with that lineup for tonight, we'll tell you tomorrow as the last chance qualifiers get underway. Well, as we start to wrap things up tonight, we'll go back quickly and take a look at the finish. Obviously for Nick Seipel, that's a big win for him as he comes across the line first. It was a good finish for a lot of guys there for Seipel, Reed, and Dinda here in this one. But as we start to wrap things up, Jim Bob, tonight as chaotic as can be. I mean, last night I thought we had the peak of the chaos of the week, and these guys tonight amped it up another level. Between the guys going home that we didn't expect, the guys moving on that we didn't expect, some dominant runs, some good team efforts. This night had a little bit of everything, and I think sets us up perfectly for tomorrow night's LCQs.
I'll tell you, it's going to set up the LCQs for a lot of guys who we did not have in our bingo cards to maybe stun the PGR and the money racing world if they can qualify into a spot into the SummerSlam 499 August 2nd. For that, I got to say we are stunned by some drivers going home. Falkenham, Cody Nagels, Ethan Eckert. I mean, a lot of big names right there. And then, of course, unofficial, but Zittel, gone. Wilkerson, as you mentioned, gone. Just to name a few. Hutchison, who had a great run. It just goes to show one little mistake can end your chance to going to the SummerSlam 499. $2,000, a championship belt. I'd rather have the belt than the $2,000, but that's just me. But if it tells you anything, if you thought the first 3 days were as chaotic as what they were, what are you going to do when you got guys going for what? 40 cars and 8 spots? Only 8 will go to the main event. You're going to see things. You're going to see guys who you wouldn't normally see make moves, start making them moves just to try to get into a spot on Sunday. It's going to be a thriller. It's going to be awesome to watch for some. They're going to be scared if they're racing or nervous or whatever how you want to do it. Dawson, I cannot wait for it.
I cannot wait either. Again, some of the drivers eliminated over the past few nights have kind of opened this thing up just a little bit. Again, many of the drivers we had circled this week are still alive. Some are going directly to the feature. Some are going to have to race one more step in tomorrow. But a number have been eliminated and created the possibility for some seriously great underdog stories. I mean, we've seen throughout the week Cody Reed, Scott Warren, amongst others, guys we just didn't really have circled, flew under the radar and have made their way now into Sunday with a chance to win $2,000 and a belt. It's going to start to wrap up heat racing portion of this event. That is the final preliminary race. We've whittled down now to just 2 last chance qualifiers, the top 24 that will race tomorrow night. Let's get you set up for when things are going to start tomorrow evening. 6 o'clock Eastern will be green flag for last chance qualifier number 1. That's the drivers from heats 1 through 4 that advance to that first LCQ tomorrow night. So we will see all the drivers that finished 4th through 12th in heats 1 through 4. If that's one of your drivers, that will be tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Directly after that, at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, it's the drivers from heats 5 through 8 in last chance qualifier number 2, which will set the final 16 spots on the grid for the SummerSlam 499. Following those 2 last chance qualifier races, we'll have the top 24 shootout race in which the top 3 finishers from each of our 8 heat races will race for their starting spot on Sunday. The pole, the front row, everything on back to the outside of row 12 will be decided in that race. Immediately following that race will be the last chance provisional race. 1 provisional will be given to 1 additional driver. Of course, We know that as of now, there is potential of at least 2 provisionals. That last chance provisional race will be 1 driver coming out of a field of 25 drivers that will be elected at some point tomorrow to run in that race for the final provisional starting spot on the grid. That's probably going to be the most exciting and chaotic race we'll see all week long, considering what's on the line in that one. The other potential provisional, again, we await the results of the LCQs tomorrow, is Malik Ray. He still is not in the feature yet. He may have to lean on the defending champions provisional as well. Now, the rest of it we will sort out tomorrow night. Again, 6, 7:30, and 9, your 3 start times tomorrow. LCQ1, LCQ2, and the top 24 race immediately to be followed by that last chance provisional race. And of course, Sunday, 1:30 is pre-race, 2 o'clock green flag on both PGR eSports and the iRacing official YouTube page. Hope to see you out for all of the racing still to go in the week. Thank you to our heat sponsor here in Heat 8, Tucker McClendon Racing, and all of our heat sponsors here for the final 3 heats of the night, as well as our premier sponsors, That Towing Company, CCR, and the Flying Aces, for their continued support of the SummerSlam 499 and PGR Esports. I also want to thank my broadcast team tonight. Our producer was Michael Triscaro. Our co-host was Jim Bob Garrett Jenkins. You'll hear more from him tomorrow night. Our pit reporter downstairs was Tyler Vickery, and my name is Dawson Wise. Thank you guys so much for your attendance and participation in tonight's broadcast and continuing on coverage of the SummerSlam 499. Join us tomorrow. The racing gets really good tomorrow night as we whittle down the field and set the grid for the 3rd annual SummerSlam 499. Hope you'll join us tomorrow from Talladega. Until then, we are saying so long and good night from Lincoln.